it was for routine checkup that did not require his admission. Kibaki is not in hospital, says his aide. These are our two key leaders, Raila Odinga and Mwai Kibaki.
Now, still keeping up with the political scene there, quite, a stance then as far as the role that the former premier is expected to play going forward. The headline this morning on the Daily Nation is that the referendum road. Now, the referendum road chosen and pictured there in the insert is former premier who, that is the ODM leader Raila Odinga, in a firm, grip of sorts with President Uhuru Kenyatta. Quoted there is that Constitution, having secured numbers through the deals between Jubilee and KANU, Wiper and CCM, President Kenyatta and ODM leader Raila Odinga are confident that they will easily push the BBI proposals through Parliament and avoid the torturous route of lobbying the county assemblies for endorsement. More details are there in the insert of that particular paper this morning, so you can catch up or rather bring yourself up to speed to that. But now I can just quote what John Bardi says, is that we are aligning the parliamentary leadership and committees to the task ahead, which is BBI. We want a parliament that is going to deliver and not sabotage the process. Now, when to hold a plebiscite. The Constitution demands a referendum for a change to the supremacy law, touching on any issue relating into the terms of office of the president, functions of parliament, independence of the judiciary, supremacy of the Constitution and territory of Kenya, the sovereignty of her people, national values, and the Bill of Rights, as well as devolution. That is what the law requires. But what is cooking in as far as the BBI is concerned? Now we want to know what is happening on ground, rather out of studio. Doreen Arange, how does it look out there? What's going on?
Well, Ray, this morning looks like there's a bit of a gridlock here around the Westlands roundabout, and that will be my focus this early morning in terms of traffic. But before I get to do that, for our viewers still keeping up with in the headline segment, and on the front page of the People's Daily this morning, we have a story concerning the education and what is set to happen in that specific sector, where the CS from Education, Professor George Magoha, has now dampened September reopening of schools, and he says that that is not going to be possible until the numbers are at least at a point where the numbers flattens for at least 2 weeks consecutively, because he mentions that it will be a bit difficult to ensure that students keep up with social distancing, even wearing of masks and proper hygiene. So that is what he says, that it will be a bit difficult for schools to reopen in September. It's also important for our viewers to know that that was the suggested month for schools to reopen, but now the CS says that that will be a bit difficult until the numbers at least reduce. But we also have a similar story which was done by our reporter Carol. Take a look.
There has been growing pressure by Kenyans to have the government reopen the economy and return to a perceived normal after the disruptions brought about by the COVID-19 pandemic. Education, like other sectors, has been dealt a big blow, and with third term approaching, uncertainty looms over what direction the country must take.
The bottom line is that we shall not open until the disease has stopped increasing and stabilized for 14 days. When it does like that, the health experts, together with ourselves, will go back to the president and tell him, what risk are we able to take? What risk is he able to take? For now, I do not think the president will be happy to open schools when we are still spiking.
Education Cabinet Secretary George Magoha says the ministry is facing a tough balance over the resumption of the school calendar by September and guaranteeing the safety of the students in the country.
We have the SACCO money, which is about 8.2 billion from the World Bank. I think they are opening tenders sometime this week, and we are going to accelerate. That is supposed to improve the infrastructure level in about 30 counties. And some of these monies will go directly to toilets and to labs and to classrooms.
Though Magoha says there is relative preparedness in schools, noting that they have invested heavily to ensure they have enough water points besides ongoing discussions on availing sanitizers, before possible reopening in September, the biggest headache is on how to achieve social and physical distancing in schools.
The government is not sitting down and waiting. We are doing everything possible to ensure that should the situation arise, whether it is only the candidates opening or whether we are opening for everybody, we shall be ready in the best capacity that we can.
Magoha spoke during a meeting with Technical Training Institute principals that sought to assess the level of preparedness and compliance of TVET institutions with Ministry of Health guidelines for a possible September reopening. Caroline Kamar reporting for Channel 1 News.
Well, that was an interesting story by a reporter there, Carol, concerning matters education and the kind of hurdles that sector is going through. Remember that schools were closed at least on the second week after the first case was announced here in the country, and a significant number of children have just been trying to study online. So now it looks like what had been planned as far as schools reopening in September will probably not happen due to the rising cases of COVID-19. But keeping up with matters COVID-19, there's also a similar header this morning, again on the same paper, in regards to coronavirus, where now doctors are divided over healed COVID patients, and some doctors are now saying that it's not quite advisable for these patients to go home until enough tests have been done, while others on the other side are saying that, well, as long as they've been tested at least for the 14 days, which is the grace period after someone has tested negative, then they're required to go home. But again, also, the doctors are coming out to say that the testing kits are not enough. So this is again one of the issues that is facing the health sector as far as COVID-19 cases is concerned. Who will hear their plea, seeing that doctors are now divided over COVID-19 patients? Who is said to go home? Who is said to still remain in hospital until they test fully and completely negative? And where exactly will these testing kits come from? These are some of the questions that these doctors are asking, even as you continue talking about matters COVID-19 and patients.
All right, but now still keeping up with the COVID-19 pandemic, remember it has been a race like no other since December last year, when the first case of coronavirus were reported in Wuhan, China. Researchers, drug makers, and strategists in the medical field have been working hours on end to find a cure or vaccine that will thwart the virus that keeps on growing. Now, some researchers are focusing on tried and tested antivirals that have worked for other diseases. Others have partnered with big pharmaceuticals to come up with new trials. Now, the closest we are towards getting a vaccine is nearly 2021, and researchers suggest that antibody treatment could be got before the year ends. Some of the treatments under study are also there in the diagram below, but nobody knows the answer. But from the list of global tests and trials so far, the world could be inching closer to combating the virus. How close are we to finding much anticipated cure? That is a question.
Now, still, that is a question that, we are asking locally, but the same question is abound across the globe, given that this particular pandemic has took the globe by storm. Already 500,000, people across the globe have lost their lives to the deadly virus, whose cure is still at large. Now, 120 new cases as well records 10 million infections. Now, counties urged to move with speed to ensure that they are ready to handle an increase in positive cases. Now, fact check is that community transmission, Nairobi and Mombasa have established community transmission, while other counties like Busia, Kajiado and Kiambu have huge clusters of the disease, especially because of truck drivers. Currently, 41 out of the 47 counties have reported cases of COVID-19, Lamu being the latest. Therefore, the ministry has urged Kenyans to adhere to the containment measures and directives to help them flatten the infection curve. So what what has the government done to ensure, to mitigate against the spread of COVID-19, especially in the devolved units? Now, Beatrice Gatenya puts that into perspective as we focus on COVID-19 at the county level.
The country continues to record high numbers of coronavirus cases, with the total number of confirmed cases rising to 6,190 after 120 more people tested positive after 2,221 samples were tested. The state of infections a cause for concern as the government warns Kenyans against complacency when it comes to adhering to the measures put in place to curb its spread.
Tafadhali tuendelee kufuata zile sharti ambapo zimewekwa na Wizara ya Afya ili tuweze kujikinge na tukinge wengine pia.
Those flouting the containment measures, including politicians, cautioned, with the Minister of Health calling for individual responsibility in winning the war. The minister, however, appeared to downplay claims that a good number of members of parliament had tested positive for the disease, but instead called on Kenyans to focus on the individual health.
The numbers of parliamentarians who have done positive is not going to help you not stand positive. Whether you are going to follow them in their gatherings is upon you. We've told you again and again, the person standing next to you could as well be positive, including those parliamentarians. So it is individual responsibility. If you think they are in gatherings that have been prohibited, why don't you avoid them yourselves?
The number of recoveries in the country now stands at 2,013 after 42 more people were discharged, with one more person succumbing to the virus, bringing the total to 144. Nairobi has a total of 3,031 confirmed cases, followed by Mombasa with 1,445, Busia 407, Kajiado 242, while Kiambu has a total of 222 cases. This coming amid a boost to Kenya's fight against the virus after the United Nations Population Fund made donations of personal protective equipment worth more than 22 million Kenya shillings. Nancy Okware, Channel 1 News.
Before I continue unpacking what is actually more in the headlines on our People's Daily newspaper, let me just remind our viewers that the reason as to why I'm here this morning is just to look at how traffic is doing this morning around the Westlands roundabout, and around 8 a.m. I'll be giving you briefs of that and also try to look for some alternative routes, especially for those who are coming from the areas such as Kangemi, Kino, and even Westlands itself as you head over to the city center going about your businesses or any kind of activities. But back to our segment in the headlines, still with the copy of the People's Daily, matters to do with corruption this morning, where a KRA officer, a wife, has been arrested over unexplained wealth, and this is a senior KRA officer and his wife who were arrested yesterday because of tax evasions. And now this is what the EACC is trying to do, or the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, just to try to curb the issues with matters corruption and trying to arrest and also just take charge of those people that are caught with any cases of corruption. But away from that, matters corruption coming to what the president is set to address, and this is far as illegal sugar imports is concerned, where the 15 ward representative have now petitioned to the President Uhuru Kenyatta to rein on those allowing illegal sugar importation. So they are now asking the president to address such kind of an issue, because then again, remember, if we keep importing sugar, then where does that leave our local manufacturers? Where does that leave our local industries? And this is what the petitioners now want the president to address as far as matters illegal importation of sugar is concerned. We hope that this is an issue that His Excellency will actually at least address to help protect our local manufacturers and our local industry. But now to an interesting story as well. This is in regards to churches reopening. Remember that we had a similar story as far as school reopening is concerned, and we had what the CS said in regards to schools reopening, which had been slated to reopen in September, but that looks like it's not going to happen. But what happens to the churches? Will they actually reopen? Now, a section of pastors in Nairobi have questioned the independence of the Inter-Religious Council mandate to review reopening of churches, terming it as extension of government. This is actually just going to mean that the churches or a section of these church leaders now want the government to take it into consideration to reopen churches. But also remember that the reason as to why churches were closed, it is just so as to stem the spread of COVID-19 and to reduce on this infection, also to reduce on the numbers, because churches are one of those places where public gatherings were happening, and this is why they were closed down. But a section of church leaders, a section of religious leaders are now coming out strongly to say that it's time for churches to be reopened. Will the government heed to this plea? Will they reopen churches? Let's wait and see. Ram.
All right, now let's head over to the scales of justice and find out what's happening in the court. And I'd like to start with Narok Senator Ledama Olekina. We have, he has denied charges of hate speech and ethnic contempt after losing his appeal to stop the case. Now, the Narok Senator Ledama Olekina was charged before Chief Magistrate Martha Mutuku with one count of ethnic contempt said to have been uttered during a live television show. Ms. Mutuku released him on a cash bail of 100,000 Kenyan shillings. Olekina joins a long list of politicians who have been charged with various offenses of hate speech and stirring ethnic animosity, but who have never been convicted as they end up being set free. Senator in court over hate speech. But speaking of people who are going to court, yesterday we had the Starehe Member of Parliament Charles Kanyi, popularly known as Jaguar, who was yesterday recorded a statement with the police over allegations of incitement. Jaguar spent the better part of the day at the Nairobi area DCI offices following last week's protest over allegations of space at the Mwariro market. The Nairobi police boss Philip Ndolo said the legislator was arrested for allegedly transporting youths to Grogon building to illegally take up ownership of shops. MP Jaguar arrested over market protests.
Still keeping up with the issues of justice and law. You know, they say that the justice has a very long hand, or rather the law has a very long hand, and it seems that the chickens have come to roost, so to speak, in as far as the law and justice is concerned. There pictured is Jaguar questioned over claims of incitement at Karioko Market. It is alleged that Starehe MP told supporters to occupy the facility built by the national government. At the far end, the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions has appealed against the acquittal of Joshua Kirianjahe Waiganjo. We famously know him as Waiganjo, the police imposter, who was cleared of charges of impersonating a senior police officer and his co-accused, the former Rift Valley police boss John Mbijiwe, and former anti-stock theft unit commander Remy Gogi, now deceased. Now, the three were acquitted on May 8th by the residential magistrate Joe Omido, who ruled that the prosecution had not provided sufficient evidence to establish the prima facie case against any of the three suspects. Still keeping up with matters of law, and this is a story that made headlines over the weekend, especially on social media, and it has made it to the front page of the Star this morning, is that under a spell, a woman accused of killing her 4 kids blames evil powers from ex-boyfriend. Evil powers, killing your own children. Whoa. So it says the Naivasha court has ordered that a woman accused of killing her 4 children be remanded at a police station for 7 days after detectives asked the court for more time to complete their investigations. Now the suspect's mother, Miss Ann Jerry, who appeared disturbed, only said, and I quote, "We never knew of his whereabouts and rarely saw him." That is in regard to apparently the deadbeat, or rather whereabouts, and rarely saw him. He was grown up and we could not control his movements, but we had received complaints about his criminal activities from the neighborhood. This is just an excerpt of what, came out from the interrogation of that, a woman accused of killing 4 kids. On the other hand, what we have on the Star is that Mwende was a maths teacher who worked with an NGO in Naivasha town and apologized for her actions and called for mercy, saying she did not know what she was doing. Quoted there, "My former boyfriend had some powers that he would use to control me, and on that day, he and his evil powers led me to kill my 4 children. I'm hoping that this is a bad dream and I will wake up and find my children healthy. because I would never hurt even a fly. The children, the slain children, are identified as Melody Warige, who was 8, Willie Masharia, 6, both pupils at Milimani Primary School, Samantha Njeri, 4 years old, and Whitney Nyambura, 2 years old. This is quite disheartening for any parent out there, given as a woman's point of view that very many women are struggling to conceive, yet one was blessed with 4 children and decided to kill them by her hand. For whatever reason, I want to believe that the angels are resting in peace wherever it is that they are. Now, still keeping up with the long arm of the law. Just to remind you, is that Jaguar, that is Starehe MP Charles Kanye Njagwa, aka Jaguar, says the allocation of the stalls at the new Morio market in Karioko must be fair. Now, he allegedly told supporters to occupy the facility built by the national government. Doreen, what do you have on your end?
Now, we also have a similar story, and speaking of the Starehe MP, that is Charles Njagwa, alias Jaguar, the MP was yesterday arrested for allegedly inciting young people, or if you may, the youth, to forcibly occupy the recently rehabilitated Mwariro market. So this actually saw the MP being booked at Nairobi area police station. Now, if you can remember, there was also a trending hashtag yesterday on social media where Kenyans just came out strongly to say that it was wrong for the MP to be arrested the way he was arrested, because what he was doing is just fighting for the rights of young people, fighting for the rights of traders, fighting for the rights of youth. But even at that, it still saw the MP being arrested yesterday, was booked yesterday at an area police station. So what exactly happened, to the MP? And even after that hashtag was trending on social media, release Jaguar, well, let's wait and see. Only time will tell. But away from matters Starehe MP and what happened to Jaguar yesterday, there's also an interesting story this morning on what the First Lady is doing, again, still in regards to matters young people and help to protect the interests of young adults, or if you made the youth in our country, where the Beyond Zero Maisha Youth in deal to promote livelihoods, and the First Lady, that is Margaret Kenyatta, Beyond Zero initiative has teamed up with Maisha Youth, which is a national youth movement to promote the welfare of adolescents and youth through the national campaign Dab Squad Culture. Now, it's also interesting for our viewers to know that this campaign will be delivered through events and festivals involving the youth using arts, music, and dance. So it's a chance for young people to come out, a chance for young people to be able to do these things together. And this is just what the First Lady is doing through his campaign Beyond Zero. And he has teamed up with Maisha Youth, at least to promote the livelihood of young adults. You know that a good number of young people always wallow in depression due to lack of jobs, due to lack of even proper income. But again, this is what the First Lady is doing, at least to ensure these young people can be able to be active and proactive, can put their life to good use, and this is through dance as well as through culture and arts. Ram.
Now, this is what has been trending in the court, and in regards to what has been happening in Starehe, in regards to the Starehe Member of Parliament, Jaguar. Remember, by 5 p.m. yesterday, he was yet to be freed. Now, the Nairobi area DCI, that is Chief Bernard Nyakwaka, was, declined to reveal if the police would press any charges. Now, we have a report in regards to the scales of justice by our very own Jackie Wambiru.
Indeed, we have that report that was prepared from the courts by Wambiru. Maybe we can get the sights and sounds of that just to culminate this issue of what has been happening in the corridors of justice, given some of the cases there are continuing. And what we saw from last week, Kenyans coming out and saying that the case against Waluhe and his co-accused was the judiciary's first, bite at corruption. How about to get the sounds and pictures from our report prepared by Wambiru from the corridors of justice.
Narok Senator Ledama Olekina was on Monday charged with ethnic contempt, where he is accused of uttering words on a televised interview which were intended to incite feelings of discrimination against non-Maasai communities living in Narok County. This is after Chief Magistrate Martha Mutuku dismissed an application seeking to stop his prosecution, ruling that it lacked merit. He was then released on a 200,000 shilling bond or a cash bail of 100,000 shillings. Mutuku ordered the Senate not to comment about the case on social media or any other forum during its pendency in court. In her ruling, Mutuku said the accused had failed to fault the case as presented by the prosecution, adding that he will be supplied with evidence by the Director of Public Prosecution to support the allegations against him, adding that he will have an opportunity to challenge the same through cross-examination.
The defense was quick in stating that the charge sheet is vague and lacks particularity. I do find that the charge sheet need not contain all the elements at this stage. I have perused the supporting affidavit of the applicant herein, and more specifically paragraph 9, and with utmost respect, I do find that the issues raised therein are evidentiary in nature, and in short, I find these are issues that the prosecution will be expected to canvass during trial.
The case will be mentioned on July 30th. Meanwhile, a 35-year-old man who allegedly murdered his girlfriend in Kieni Village, Kirinyaga County, was arraigned Monday before Kerugoya Court. Simon Meremi was brought before the court under tight security but was not allowed to take plea as authorities are yet to conclude investigations, with Senior Resident Magistrate Grace Kirugumi ordering the accused to be held in custody at the Kerugoya police station for 10 more days.
When people are saying that I struggled my children, I'm feeling as if they are not real, because for me, I cannot even slaughter a chicken.
And the woman accused of killing her 4 children in Naivasha is now blaming evil spirits and her former boyfriend for the beastly action.
Evans, who happened to be my ex-boyfriend, I'm suspecting he's the one who caused all that. He used my body to struggle the children.
42-year-old Beatrice Mwende Kimodhoi says after spending 2 nights in police cell, the reality had hit her and she was yet to come to terms with her deeds, which she termed as demonic. The murdered minors have been identified as 8-year-old Melody Warigia, Willie Masharia, age 6, 4-year-old Samantha Njeri, and Whitney Nyambura, age 2 years. The development coming as police sought 7 more days to hold her in custody so as to conduct mental assessment before charging her with murder. Reporting for Channel 1 News, I'm Jackie Wambiru.
Now still on our In the Headlines segment, we now move to matters business and try to look at what has been making headlines on our papers as far as business is concerned. And so now the government is set to offer kitchen gardens to millions of families, where 1 million vulnerable households across the entire country will soon benefit from a kitchen garden program initiated by the government to ensure a steady food supply and adoption of healthy diets in the wake of COVID-19 in the country. So there's an as to why the government has identified these households, and this is a total of 1 million households throughout the entire country. And now the government is saying that they will ensure that these households get enough food supply, and actually adequate food supply, and not just any kind of food, but also a balanced diet food supply. And this is due to the adverse effects of COVID-19, because COVID-19 has affected different sectors. One of them probably is the agriculture sector, and even a number of Kenyans have lost their jobs due to these effects of COVID-19, and also a good number of them cannot even sustain themselves. And this is in regards with acquiring basic needs such as food. And so this is where the government comes in, and it has identified at least 1 million households, and it has promised and said that they will ensure that this household can be able to get these basic needs such as food, and not just any kind of food, but at least a balanced diet kind of food. But also remember that, you know, in the next hour, I will still be bringing you up to speed with what is happening on our roads in terms of traffic. Ram.
Now, still coming up with matters business, Kenyan tourism sector has lost about 80 billion Kenyan shillings since the breakout of the COVID-19 pandemic in December last year. Now, the Wildlife and Tourism Cabinet Secretary Najib Balala said this during the launch of a report on impact of the virus in Kenya yesterday. According to Balala, he says this, and I quote, "We lost 50% of our revenue of 160 billion shillings, with the second half of the year being as good as zero." End of quote. This is the meeting that took place at the Kenya Kenyatta International Convention Center in Nairobi yesterday. Now, the CS also projected that for the first half of the current financial year, Kenya will get just 30% of expected revenue. Now, zero revenue collected in the second half of the 2018-2019 financial year as aviation industry grounds to a halt. Tourism chokes after 80 billion shillings lost.
Now, a task force had been set up, headed by CAS Joseph Boynet, and, gave recommendations in regard to just how that otherwise lucrative subsector that is struggling at this time due to COVID-19 disruptions is, likely to use, or rather to leverage on to jumpstart and get back to profitability. Here's a report prepared by yours truly on that particular study.
The government has been at the fore to enable the sector regain and retain tourist confidence and minimize negative impacts of COVID-19 economic fallout.
But by and large, we are optimistic, and the report has assured us of that the industry shall recover. But how soon we shall recover is dependent on how fast we will be able to assimilate the recommendations that have been proposed by this report.
The newly launched National Tourism Crisis Steering Committee report recommends a phased marketing approach that includes targeting domestic visitors, regional visitors and international visitors, as well as pricing revision for tourism products in Kenya to jumpstart the sector post-COVID-19.
We decided to commission a study into its impact, spearheaded by Kenyatta University, and it had very, very important input from our Kenya Tourism Board, and I want to thank Dr. Rodier for invaluable support, as well as other key collaborators that include Kenya Tourism Research Institute and the Kenya Wildlife Service.
In fact, on Wednesday, the 1st of July, we will launch our tourism protocols here at KICC, and they have been endorsed by the World Tourism Travel Council and the UNWTO.
Other strategies include geospatial presentation of tourism resources in Kenya, capturing experiences and information, packaging tourism products, digitizing travel and tourism, promoting community-based tourism, fighting misinformation, and ensuring strict adherence to lay down health protocols.
And it doesn't matter being an international clientele or a local market. It doesn't matter. Everybody wants to see that is going to a facility that has health measures in place.
Tourism and Wildlife CS Najib Balala says the report signals Kenya's openness in managing the pandemic and commitment to health of visitors.
We are worried that if the protocols are going to be very rigid, particularly the aviation protocols, the cost of flying will be expensive. It doesn't matter being a charter aircraft or a scheduled airline. Yeah, so that is our worries. But I'm optimistic. People people also are strained, and they want to move out of their confinement for the last 3-4 months.
He further called for a collaborative approach among stakeholders towards revamping and restarting the tourism sector post-COVID-19 era. The National Treasury has allocated 11.3 billion shillings to the tourism sector in what could help the sector bounce back to profitability owing to the coronavirus outbreak in Kenya. Regina Manyara reporting for Channel 1 Business.
Now let me take this time to thank Regina Manyara Gitao specifically for that report. Quite detailed report by our very own Regina Manyara. Now moving on swiftly, a number of savings and credit cooperatives, that is SACCOs, are on the brink of collapse as the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic becomes full-blown. Now, Kenya Union of Savings and Credit Corporations, KUSCO, Managing Director George Ototo, has called for urgent rescue of SACCOs from the airlines, tourism, horticulture and transport sectors have been hardest hit by the virus. According to the managing director, that is George Ototo, he says, and I quote, "Unless we rescue them, they might not come back from the look of things," end of quote. The SACCOs have had to deal with requests for mass withdrawals and low deposits from members who have been laid off due to the effects of the pandemic. Alarm as coronavirus likely to sink SACCOs.
And as such, the government is reconsidering a stimulus package for the cooperative societies under the aviation and tourism sectors to cushion them from, adverse effects of COVID-19. Last year's statistics, the economic survey of 2018-2019 indicated that SACCOs have a portfolio, rather assets worth at least $1 trillion. You can imagine if this particular movement was to go under due to COVID-19 disruptions. A government is considering a stimulus package. How about Alan Aoko, who was down there and had a conversation with Cusco, filed the following report, puts it more into perspective, what we're discussing about.
It has led to reduced cash flows and reduced remittances from the members' deductions. Hence, operation-wise, our SACCO operations have been really affected.
Currently, affected societies have suffered reduced incomes, with members sent home and others forced to take a salary cut. The pandemic has also seen an upsurge in withdrawals, adversely affecting liquidity in the said SACCOs. The Cooperative Coronavirus Response Committee is now seeking to curtail adverse effects on SACCOs.
We have seen that there has been impact in terms of loan repayments. We know that there has been impact in terms of savings deposit because of companies that have been impacted. We know of companies who have asked us to give them, in terms of loan repayments, a moratorium up to a year.
We are looking forward now, after this, to reach out Nakuru County, especially Naivasha, where we have this issue of for our sector. We are also looking forward to go to Kisumu, for example, Nyarenda area, where we have COPs both for housing and the SACCOs highly affected. We're also looking forward to go to Mombasa.
Speaking during the handover of 5,000 vouchers to various households belonging to SACCO members, Cooperatives Development Principal Secretary Ali Nur Ismail said the government was still assessing the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on cooperative societies and also consulting on lending valuations for SACCOs struggling in the space.
The government immediately after the COVID-19 impact has put in place not only the guidelines, but also mitigation measures in order to mitigate the effects of the sector.
The most affected ones are in the travel industry, the horticulture, tourism, hotel. Those are the ones that have been impacted negatively, and a number of them, unless we rescue them, they might not come back.
Noor appealed to other SACCOs to come together and consolidate efforts in cushioning the sector.
This is a purely voluntary initiative, and it is just in keeping with our spirit as cooperatives. So we are not forcing anybody, and therefore we keep on making an appeal, and we reach out to the cooperative societies, and now we say even the members, so that the support can be more.
The Cooperatives Coronavirus Response Committee was formed to help cooperative societies mitigate against the challenges of the pandemic. This, even as other cooperative societies run out of credit going forward. Alan Aoko reporting for Channel 1 Business in Nairobi.
Well, thank you very much, Alan Aoko, for that well-detailed story in regards to how we are saving our SACCOs. But now that brings us, it's a wrap right here on In the Headlines. Regina, you're having a very interesting discussion today on health matters.
Indeed. And we're going to be talking about oral hygiene. Just a quick question. I know I have an aversion to dentists, and I tend to think, that statement that, oh, it won't hurt. That injection always hurts. So dentists are not my favorite, kind of medical practitioners. But I know they are essential because oral hygiene is quite important. Ram, just a quick question. How often do you change your toothbrush?
Well, I don't give the statistics. I don't keep the statistics. The records are not clear. But I think the current toothbrush that I have has taken now almost 4 months.
Okay, well, that we will find out sooner from the expert we are having in not too long, just after the traffic, if Ram's a 4-month-old toothbrush is proper to use. Remember, we're talking about oral hygiene, trying to demystify the trending or rather emerging practices. And remember, dentists will often tell you that you do not have to lose a tooth. That is the last option, but many of us have opted to have a tooth plucked. And how has this affected our dentures, our beautiful smiles? So because we want to keep smiling and just, you know, when you're seated and having a conversation, that you do not have issues of bad mouth odor, you know, this is a conversation to participate in. Remember, our Twitter handle is at KBC Channel 1 TV, at KBC Channel 1 News, and at Ray Manyara at Ramaguko. After the traffic update, we speak matters oral hygiene. Do not go away. We'll be right back.
On the next episode of Corner.
Unawezaje patana tu na mtu kwa street alafu uende ukachapiane naye? Kalishizo machine. Ulitumia raba eh?
This can be our plan, B. We present this to the dean. This will warrant her layoff.
Yes, I know. I'm sorry. I ran into a little trouble, okay? And stop calling me that. We are not peers.
Oh, we are not peers, eh? Maybe I should let your peers help you.
Na madawa na kuona counseling na utaishi maisha yako vinormal tu. Kukuwa na HIV si eti ni mwisho.
Wewe uko nayo?
Mimi nilishapima.
Afya bora, maisha bora. Jipime, jiinue.
Embakasi Utawala tuko locked. Ungem Utanyahururu Kasuku Massive.
Jeshi ya Nyeri Coast Maua na Kuru kwa locked mbaya.
Kigumo Ward na ambao wote wako ndani ya KBC Channel 1.
Akulaliki Wednesday bila the ref.
Mbotela Auta Idara Kitengela.
Kiambu County 33 Pipeline Meru anawakilisha.
Rongai Maboxa pale go down. Karatina Auta Mlolongo wana enjoy show. Lare Sub County Auta Githurai 45. Lanet Barracks tuko ndani yake. Okongo Auta Carnation Maragwa Seti
Nairobi.
Fika wako locked mbaya sana.
Watu wangu wa Nakuru Ngwaro.
Auta Gilgil.
Live kutoka Mazeras Bahati Massive.
Embo Thika Massive.
Siaya Shikambi Kakamega Bungoma County.
Kusia Boda Kisumu City. Malindi yote iko ndani ya the ref.
When I'm in Kenya, I tune in to the rave. Get your mind brave, focus, conscious.
Kenya,
East Africa.
Right.
Keep it locked.
Calling out to Africa.
And now at 7 minutes past the top of the hour, time for our fast traffic link-up segment. And as I had promised to your viewers that this morning we'll be looking at what will be happening around the Westlands roundabout, which is our center of focus this early morning. And just like major roundabouts, how we look at roundabouts, anytime we look at traffic, roundabouts obviously connect to a number of roads, and it is no different from this specific roundabout, seeing that it comes all the way from Wayakiwe and all the areas that ply this specific route, still using the roundabout, heading over to Wayakiwe again, heading over to the city center, as well as just branching off to the Westlands estates and those businesses enjoying that specific area, which we'll be showing you in a bit. But now, sticking with these two lanes that are actually coming and leaving from Wayakiwe and estates that ply this route, using the roundabout as you head over to the city center, just from what you're seeing on our images or what you're seeing this early morning, is that there's barely any traffic gridlock. And I can tell you for sure that since when we got actually here, an hour ago, this is how this road has been looking like. This is how the situation has been. So it has just been a clear moving of vehicles. And also what I've spotted on this road, unlike the roads that we were looking at even yesterday, and also roads such as State House Road, which just serves private vehicles, it is different with this specific one because it actually caters for all kinds of vehicles. Now, this just ultimately mean both public vehicles, both private vehicles, motorcycles, pedestrians. So it is, if I may say, that multi-purpose road, because it caters for both kind of vehicles as well as also motorcycles and pedestrians. So for now, it is moving at a pretty fast pace. There's no traffic at all. But if I may just mention also, this is one of those busy roads because on normal times, this road also caters for vehicles that comes from the outskirts of Nairobi. Now, when I say outskirts of Nairobi, these are just also areas, or if you may, counties such as the western part of the country as well as Nyanza part of the country. Those specific vehicles use this route as you head over to the city center, or even this same route as you head over to those counties and even those areas of the outskirts of Nairobi. But as of now, given the restriction of movement in and out of Nairobi, we've not been seeing such kind of vehicles coming to the city center or even leaving the CBD as you head over to those areas and those different counties. And probably that could also be the reason as to why there's barely any heavy traffic gridlock, because as of now, this early 8 a.m. morning, oftentimes the kind of traffic, especially around this roundabout, sometimes becomes unbearable because, again, it's also one of those busy roads. But as you leave the estates that ply this road, this is Wayakiwe, as you use the roundabout coming to the city center, these are estates such as Kino, Kikuyu, Kangemi, coming through Westlands, coming to Nairobi City, clearly moving at a pretty fast pace. And also the same situation is still on the lane that is leaving Nairobi City Center as you head over to those estates. Clearly also on that lane, it is moving at a really fast pace. But also to mention to our viewers again, on that specific lane again, also it's one of those busy lanes because remember, Westlands area or even just leaving Wayakiwe as you head over to the city center using Westlands is not only, is not those roads that just caters for estates that ply this route. It's also important for me to mention that the kind of businesses, and I can tell you for sure this is in terms of large-scale businesses. This is like one of those hubs for those businesses. Another area is Upper Hill area, but Westlands area is again one of those areas. This is also because back in the day, many business centers, this is in regards to, especially the large-scale businesses, they were situated in Nairobi City. But due to the congestion in that specific area and the fact that it could not accommodate all kind of businesses, seeing that businesses were sprouting up, many business centers were coming up, a good number of people deemed it fit to relocate to such areas such as the Westlands areas. And so this is why oftentimes you will see many business talk about companies, talk about business structures, talk about even shopping malls, even supermarkets quite a number of them around the Westlands area, and this is due to the fact that in city center the space could not accommodate all the structures, all the companies, so it deemed it fit for people to move in such areas to put up their businesses. So again, that is one of the reasons as to why Westlands area is normally one of those busy areas, and also that is the reason as to why oftentimes in the early morning hours, even lunchtime hours and even in the evening hours, you would see heavy traffic gridlock. So it's not just because of the estates, but also because of the kind of businesses around this specific area. But I want us to look at another road. This is just as you branch off from the roundabout heading over to Westlands Estates. Also on that specific area, moving at a pretty fast pace. There's barely any traffic at all. But also remember, I had promised you, our viewers, that I will be giving you some alternative routes in the instance of heavy traffic buildup. Probably in the next link-up segment, I'll just be trying to do that. But for now, I want to hand it over to studio, where being Health Tuesday, our discussion will be centered around matters health, and the discussion there will be on oral health. So probably the question I would just love to pose to our viewers is, how often do you change your toothbrush? How often do you brush your teeth? Regina.
Good question there. Doreen, you have a beautiful smile. I don't know about you. I don't know how often you change your toothbrush. Ram said 4 months. This morning we're talking about oral hygiene, and we have a dentist here to just take us through the rigors of, achieving oral hygiene. I know there's so many issues, especially issues of bad breath. This is a place to be. We want to remind you that we welcome your feedback. Our Twitter handle is at KBC Channel 1 TV, at KBC Channel 1 News. Mine is at Ray Manyara, and Ram's is at Ram Aguku. So they keep tweeting. Tell us, ask the questions that you want to ask. We have a professional on studio this morning, and it's none other than Dr. Benjamin Simiyu of Royal Smiles, Kenya. Welcome. Thank you for your time. Now let's start off by answering Ram's question. Ram said he is still using a 4-month-old toothbrush. So, dentist Benjamin Simiyu, is that the right? Is it proper to be using a 4-month-old toothbrush?
How
often should we change our toothbrush?
First of all, I think Ram's toothbrush is expired.
Ram, your toothbrush is expired. The dentist has said you're using an expired toothbrush. What do you have to say for yourself, Ram?
Well, I just have one question. When is the expiry date of every toothbrush? Because looking at my teeth, I can say I have one of the best. Look at them. They're
do you want us to zoom into your teeth? Are you daring us to zoom into your teeth?
I am daring you.
Fine. Kindly, Mr. Producer, Bram is challenging the dentist in the house to zoom in on his teeth.
Yes.
I don't know if they look like this. I don't know if these are the ideal, model for teeth.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes, these
So
teeth
what
are
do you
the
think,
best.
Bona Daktari?
These
And
teeth are the
Ram's
best.
teeth, they are the best. He's grinning.
Wow, wow.
Please don't zoom in on mine. I am not going to compete with this. If you want, you can zoom in on that. So, Bwana Benjamin,
yes,
you've seen Ram's teeth, and
yes.
he says he's asking,
Yep.
just like any other question, is it? As his teeth awesome, as he says, and the expiry date of the toothbrush?
Well, having looked at Ram's teeth, I like the occlusion, the biting, the way you are biting like this. So I like the way they are done, and they are clean outwards. But I have to look at inside, because we've spent a little time brushing inside, and then quickly we just rush in the bathroom, brushing excessively on the outside. And then every toothbrush has to be changed every 3 months, or if you have a cold, so that if you have frequent cold attacks, so you have to change that. If it's weekly, you change weekly. If it's monthly, then monthly. Otherwise, if you have no cold, then 3 months is the recommended period. Yeah, so
3 months.
it's not recommended. Right?
Now, since we're talking about toothbrushes, let's start from there. In a family setup, we find that just outside the wash area, that's where we lump our toothbrushes together. The kids, the father, the mother, the house help, in one container, preferably disposable, blue band kind of plastic container. That's where we
together.
put our toothbrush.
Yeah.
What are the dangers of that?
I think there's a danger of cross-infection, just in case one of your people in the family have an infection, and it can be transferred to the next person. So right now, when you go to any supermarket or any store, you can find dedicated handles or things to keep each toothbrush at its own. And I wouldn't recommend them to be put in a bathroom or in a toilet because, you know, in fact, that's risky. In fact, you'll get more frequent, maybe, you know, problem with your stomach and all that, because we should keep away from the bathroom area.
Now, it seems that you've jumped to the gun, and today we're talking about oral hygiene. Maybe you can tell us, Bwana Daktari, demystify for us what exactly it pertains, or rather, what oral hygiene is all about.
Okay, oral hygiene is basically keeping your teeth healthy and functional at all times. And it culminates by having a very good breath at the end. That's a good oral hygiene. So if you feel that your breath is awful, or you having sensitive tooth, you cannot eat, or you cannot even smile, that means you're not really keeping your teeth well, or even a change in color. Yeah, so that's not a healthy smile. But good oral hygiene, as I said, is simply keeping your teeth healthy, fresh, and then functional.
Health, fresh, and functional. That is what oral hygiene is all about. In your 10-year experience, what are the main, issues that you've had to deal with in as far as dentistry is concerned?
All right. Usually every day patients present differently. Most frequently, every day I always handle patients coming with toothache. They couldn't sleep at night. Yeah. Others bring their children for braces, so that's another issue. Another issue that I deal with is patients who have lost teeth already and they want replacement. So, and then others also come with trauma. Maybe they've had an accident, their teeth are fractured. So we handle such cases also. And also every day we also handle kids. Yeah, they cannot chew. Others have brown teeth, fluorose teeth. Yeah, also different kind of scenarios that we handle. Yeah, so from alignment to pain, it's a wide range.
You've mentioned something, and I think anyone who's had a tooth issue always wonders why the tooth hurts most at night. Why? Why does it hurt at night?
Well, the tooth hurts at night when the pulp chamber inside your tooth, a tooth has got an outer covering called the enamel. Below the enamel, there is a dentine. And then just below the dentine, there is a pulp chamber. This pulp chamber has got blood vessels and nerves. Now, when we have an infection, for example, in this tooth here, there is a black chamber at the center, meaning it's infected. So at night when we are sleeping, the blood pressure inside this small chamber increases, and therefore compressing the nerves. That's why you cannot even sleep. So there's too much pressure when you're lying down, and then compressing these small nerves inside. So that's why, yeah, it really wakes you up at night. And some people, actually some clients come holding their ice packs, coming to the clinic because they cannot sleep, just because of that. So there's an infection that has already reached at the center of the tooth, and therefore compressing the small blood vessels in the nerves.
So what to do at this situation? Because out here, people have come up with home remedies, including just inserting some sort of painkiller, right there at that particular chamber that you've talked about, and it eases the pressure. But what is the right solution for that?
Well, at home remedies, if you have a pain reliever or a painkiller, you can take it as you wait for the morning, and then you rush to the dentist. What will happen is that the dentist is going to remove this infected nerve. The bacteria inside is going to be removed. Once the bacteria is removed from the tooth, and then it's carefully cleaned. The inside of this root is carefully cleaned.
So what do you call that process?
This one is called root canal treatment. Or
it sounds very painful. And we have a problem with dentists saying that it won't hurt, but it hurts. Just maybe explain to us how the process, you were in the middle of explaining the process of a root canal.
Yeah, well, Regina, because patients are always anesthetized. So this procedure is actually painless. Unless your anesthesia is not working or half working, that's when you might experience pain. But a good, profound anesthesia will elicit no pain, zero pain. So actually, before we go to remove and clean, we have to anesthetize. So you're numb. In the whole of the procedure, there is no pain at all. So we remove this infected bacteria inside, clean it, and then fill it with an inert material. We are not supposed to leave this chamber empty because our bodies were created not to have a dead space inside. Mm-hmm. So we just remove. At the end, this tooth does not have a nerve inside, but it has an inert material, and it's nourished by any other blood vessels around it, not inside. Actually, an adult tooth doesn't need the blood vessels at the center.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you're talking about root canal, there's been, talk that pregnant women are not advised to actually go through dental procedures. Mm-hmm. Elaborate, explain to us who is eligible, especially for a root canal, and when it comes to a mother, an expected mother who, has a toothache, what to do?
Well, it depends on the stage of pregnancy. Usually the most delicate stage is the first trimester. So the first trimester, we have to be careful which type of medication we are going to use. However, the medication we use are not contraindicated for pregnant lady at any stage for root canal treatment. So you don't have to wait for 9 months of pain. There's a way in which we come and we use advanced medicine specifically for an expectant mother, so that we are able to perform the root canal treatment, and we cannot complete it at that time. We wait for the baby to come forth, and then we can complete the last stage. Otherwise, the root canal treatments are safe during pregnancy. Yeah, because we are not injecting any medication that are harmful to the baby. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When you talk about root canal, or even one of the reasons that why Kenyans do not quite as often visit their doctors as they, just visit normal consultants or other medical practitioner, general practitioner, is that also dental services are not cheap. Are not cheap. So from where you sit as a person who is already practicing within the local scene, issues of insurance, just lowering the cost of, dental services. Have we made inroads to making dental services affordable in the country?
There's quite a number of insurance companies right now that accept dental covers, and it covers a wide range of dental procedures, from extraction to root canal treatment to just cleaning your teeth so that your teeth can be maintained healthy. So I think most insurance companies, they have covered their clients with an insurance cover, so you don't have to feel the pain of having to pay huge amounts of money, because for sure it's really expensive to maintain the teeth. So you have to actually start by doing it by yourself, and have a rule. It's a 2x2, just like if you're driving a 4x4 car. In dentistry, I have a rule, 2x2 maintenance schedule, meaning you brush twice a day, morning and evening, after every meal. The second 2x2 is you visit your dentist just twice a year. So it's a 2x2, brushing twice a day and visiting your dentist twice a year.
We might be having a problem about brushing twice a day after a meal.
Yes.
What constitutes a meal? Especially when we're ever snacking. I'm imagining some of us who are already here in the shift, we started the day a little bit early, maybe around 3 a.m., 4 a.m.
Wow.
And we're going to maybe be breaking at around 10, 11. That's when we expect to have breakfast. So we left the house having brushed our teeth.
Yes.
We're going to have breakfast at around 10, 11. Are you recommending that we brush after having our breakfast and consequently after lunch and also dinner? Because as we look at, most households, we have a three meal plan.
Yes.
So when does a 2x2, especially when it comes to just brushing our teeth, come in?
Well, because most people are working or going to school, they can access their toothbrush in the morning and then in the afternoon. However, some offices have got a place where you can go and toothbrush after your lunch. That would be the best thing you can do after lunch or after any snack, especially a sugary snack. The more the sugar stays on your tooth without getting it off, the more danger is posing on your tooth. Therefore, I'll recommend after every meal. However, for working class and school-going people, it's 2 by 2. If you're at home or you're snacking all the time, then you have to carry a toothbrush with you. Yes.
Issue of flossing.
Yes.
Using dental floss.
Yes.
How effective is that?
Very effective and highly recommended, because your toothbrush is only going to brush around the tooth, on top, on the inside, and on the outside. The toothbrush cannot go in between the teeth. Therefore, that is where your dental floss will go and remove any debris that is staying inside, in between the teeth. Most people who come to us, they have healthy teeth on the outside and inside, but when we take a radiograph, an X-ray, a very nice tooth like this has got a big decay just inside. In between the 2 teeth is a tiny space, a natural space that allows your dental floss to go in and then clean it. So you can do that even at your own time, like you sit at home while watching TV or doing something. You don't have to say, I'm now going to do flossing, because some people don't like it. So just sit on a couch and then pass that floss inside the teeth. So you will really save these teeth from decaying.
Use of toothpicks. Do you recommend that?
Well, personally, I don't recommend toothpicks, because at the end, you're hurting your gums. You're actually making your gums go down. See, for example, these are perfect teeth, aligned together very well. So if I start poking inside, I'm going to push this gum down. And most of the time, you'll find out that your toothbrush has got a tinge of blood. So actually, you're causing inflammation around the gum. And also, it's creating a lot of space in between the teeth. So although cheap, but I wouldn't recommend a toothbrush. You're hurting your teeth and your gum. Yeah.
So that is how we take care of our teeth in terms of brushing.
Yeah.
But then, is there a particular toothbrush, that, or what should we be looking out for when one is going to purchase a toothbrush?
Okay, well, before you lift that toothbrush on the store, supermarket, or your retail shop, they are always written. So you have to look, is it soft, medium, or hard toothbrush? Just look at the back. We recommend medium. Hard is going to wear out your soft gum. It's hard for the teeth, but too hard for the gums. Therefore, we recommend a medium. And if you have sensitive teeth or worn out teeth, you go for a soft toothbrush. Recently, in advance of toothbrush, there are electrical toothbrushes. So these ones are much better because they vibrate. When you're passing it, when you're brushing your teeth like this, it's going to vibrate and knock off any food debris that is adhering to the surface of the teeth. So that is the most recommended. However, it's a bit costly. Some of them are rechargeable, and you can detach the heads. You don't have to then disinfect them or even autoclave them and reuse them. Yeah. So toothbrushes, I recommend a medium toothbrush.
Medium toothbrush.
Yes, not hard, not too soft. Yes. And then at the back of the toothbrush, there is always an area for the tongue. Yeah, you always brush your tongue after you finish.
I think Kenyans, most of us think that is just part of the decoration.
Oh, no. So just pick your toothbrush when you're at home and then find out, does it have something at the back? This is for your tongue. If you don't brush your tongue, what's happening is that you'll always get the foul breath, what we call halitosis. Halitosis. And some people brush their tongue with the bristles of the brush. That is dangerous. You are going to wear out your taste buds. You're going to wear out your taste buds.
Dr. Are you saying that, let me maybe demonstrate. I'm not going to use my teeth.
This one? Yeah.
So usually you're saying we're not supposed to technically use this front side of the brush to brush our tongue. But that's what we usually do. And what about toothbrushes that, like this one doesn't have that rugged part? Then it means I bought the wrong toothbrush?
Oh, yes.
So I should go for one that has the side, the rugged edge at the back, so that we can, and avoid using the bristles for the tongue.
Yes, yes.
Did you just say that actually using this brittles for the tongue it might lead to loss of taste buds?
Yes, the tongue has got areas for tasting food. Our tongues has got like hair, like protrusions on top, very fine for detecting which is sweet, which is sour.
Yes.
So when you keep on using the bristles, they are going to wear it out because of friction. So therefore, a good toothbrush has got the back end of the toothbrush specifically for that. And then you don't have to scrub off your tongue, because at the end we have patients who come and say, I have a burning sensation on my tongue. The tongue, which was with bristles, with the hair-like structures, is now smooth, very smooth like this. When they're eating, they're experiencing what we call a burning sensation. Yeah. So when we check, there is no more hair-like taste areas, the tongue. Yeah. So that's what happens.
Dr. I would want you to demonstrate how we should brush our teeth, because I think a majority of us have it wrong, because we go scrubbing our, and really being rigorous, about it, trying to do away with, the dirt and, especially in the morning when you just want to be fresh. Maybe just demonstrate how we should brush our teeth.
Well, this is your teeth, and this is your toothbrush. So this is your teeth, and then this is your toothbrush. So what you're supposed to do is you hold your toothbrush, first of all, at 90 degrees along the long axis of the tooth. So this is the long axis of the tooth, and your toothbrush should come at 90 degrees.
90.
And then you twist it at 45.
Sounds like mathematics instead of brushing our teeth.
Yes. Very, very, this is a safety measure for your gums.
Okay.
So once you tilt it as 45 degrees, that's the recommended. And then you go in a cycle. Tooth by tooth. We say tooth by tooth, surface by surface. And not the normal back, forth, back, forth. What happens when you age is that the gums will wear out, it will go down and expose the root part of the tooth. This root, the root portion of the tooth has got nerves, as I said earlier. So when you keep brushing back and forth vigorously, the gum wears out and then exposes this. So people come with a lot of sensitivity, meaning they've been brushing very hard back and forth all the days of their lives. So I recommend 45 degree and then gentle cycle, in a cycle. The only area you can brush back and forth vigorously is the top.
The top.
The top doesn't have any soft tissues like the gum. So you can actually do that at your own convenience. But any area where there is a gum, we recommend 45 degrees and then in a cycle. Yes. So I recommend that our viewers should spend the same time of brushing outside and inside. When you look at someone's teeth, when they come to us, perfect teeth outside. When we say, open your mouth, black staining on the inside.
Now let me ask, how do we brush the inside of this teeth?
Of the teeth, yes.
45 degrees in a circular motion.
Yes.
Per tooth.
Yes.
That we got. But now how do we get here? Because usually we do this.
Oh yeah, we just do a little bit and then gargle and then you dash off to work.
Yeah. So how do you do it?
You need to also just spend the same time and technique. 45 degrees. So you 90, 45. So 90, like that, and then 45 degrees. So you go in a cycle. So the inside will take a little more time because it's very hard to access these areas.
Yeah.
And therefore, you have to take your time brushing on the inside. As I said, now electric toothbrushes have combined these features of circular movements and vibrations. So with electric toothbrush, actually just put it there, it does your work, and you're just moving the toothbrush. So it rotates. It rotates and knocks off all the teeth. And then it cleans, they say, 5 times more than your own brushing. Yeah. So that's the technique I'll recommend for most people.
45? And the tongue, is it, you've said we use the back part?
Yes, the back part.
The back part of the toothbrush. No.
Yes, Regina.
Is it going to be in a circular motion, or can we just thrust in and out,
I think you can do also just in a circular motion, gentle circular motion. Yeah, so that you don't injure the tongue, the hairs on top of the tongue. So circular motion, and then even you can just scrap off like this, You'll see actually a layer of food that you've eaten coming out with your toothbrush. And then after that, you just gargle. Yeah. And also, I must say that so long as you're brushing 2 times or 3 times a day, you don't have to use a lot of force. Yeah. With time, these teeth will wear off. the gum will wear off. The top, the enamel, especially the dentine is soft, is going to wear off. So you have to be gentle on brushing, not too much pressure. Yes.
While brushing.
Yes.
How then do we take care of, the toothbrush? There are people who believe that you rinse it in warm water. Some rinse it in sodium bicarbonate. What do you recommend?
If someone cannot afford, like you can dip it, you just rinse it with normal water, and you can dip it in mouthwash for some time. If you don't have mouthwash, then you can dip it in warm salty water. Yes.
Now let's look at alternatives to just a toothbrush, floss, and such.
Yes.
And one of them is the issue of the use of salty water to brush our teeth. Does it work? Do you recommend it?
Well, salt water is actually, salt is medicine. Yeah, salt is medicine. It really heals. In fact, if someone has got a gum or a pimple on it, we just tell them, before you come to us, can you do some home remedies? Warm water, and then you gargle. It really works. But if you can have access to a toothbrush, a toothpaste, that's the most recommended, because when you use salt every day, you're also posing danger to your body. The mouth has got a lot of areas where it can absorb all those salt solutions. So you are increasing the level of sodium in your body, which might cause hypertension and all that. So unless you cannot afford, yes.
Now, some parts of the country, have waters, or rather the water that is being used there has an excess of fluoride.
Yes.
And for one reason or another, this has affected, the people there, because their teeth are no longer white, but rather brown. For someone who has such a condition then, what options are out there? Maybe we can start off with the home remedies, if they're there, to just, because we've had issues of teeth whitening using charcoal.
Yes.
So let's talk about fluoricide teeth.
Yes. Charcoal has been proven also to whiten teeth. Yeah, so it does.
So are you saying charcoal? I want to hear.
Home remedy.
Home remedy.
Yes.
Charcoal.
Yes.
The one that you used for the jiko.
Yes.
So how do I use that? Do I crush it? Do I just use it raw? What happens?
I think people can get a whole block of charcoal and then start scrubbing the teeth. Yes, others can smash it in powder and then they put on top of their teeth. However, that has been done traditionally.
Okay.
Traditionally. But recently, when you go to the dentist, what we are going to do is we are going to whiten your teeth, depending on the level of your fluorosis, the level. There are people who have too much yellow and then too dark. So the options that we have when you visit our clinic, we don't have the charcoal in our office.
Yeah, definitely. I don't expect you to use charcoal.
Yes. So what we do is we do something called masking. Masking is just like putting on a shield. You're masking, putting off. So we put a thin layer of filling called composite. So we cover this area that is black with a composite filling. And then you will mask the appearance of this tooth. And then another option we have is what we call veneers. Veneers are just like your nail veneers that you do in the salon. Yeah, so you stick them on top of the teeth, and then they mask the yellow staining underneath. Another option we can do, if they're too much decayed or fluorosed and they're painful, is that we do the root canal treatment. After we do the root canal treatment, we put something called a crown. So this is a crown. A crown is like a replica of the tooth. So this one, with a tooth that's fluorosed, for example, just giving an example of this one, if a tooth that's yellow and then fluorosed like this one, and it has pain, so we are going to do root canal treatment. We treat the roots, and then we cover it permanently with a crown. So this one will mask this tooth permanently like this.
And for the sheer mask that you've said, for those who maybe do not have so much, it's just that it's not as white, the teeth is not as white as they'd want them to. How long does a masking last? Is it, a one-off kind of procedure to white teeth,
do
for white
masking?
teeth?
Well, depending on the severity of your fluorosis, because fluorosed teeth have got a low ability to retain our materials, unlike a sound tooth that has no issue, because it has a lot of calcium. So the calcium will really adhere to the filling that we are doing. However, a fluorosed tooth has got higher content fluorosis, and therefore they are so weak. Therefore, I would say that's just a temporary, maybe between 5 to 10 years, you need to change again, another masking. And that's the cheapest, if I can say, option, yeah, because it's somehow temporary. But if well done, nowadays we have a technology that actually pre-manufacture those masks in the laboratory, in a dental laboratory. So when they're brought back to the clinic, they fit perfectly. Those ones can stay for quite a number of time, a number of years.
Yeah, we're already getting feedback from one of our viewers, and I would want to read out what they have asked. And they've written in a mixture of Kiswahili and English, so I'll read it as it is.
Yes.
Muulize daktari, mbona most people in US remove their molars? Juu haingarangi ama ndio aje? I don't know how at that point how that viewer got to see the back of the molars there. I'm not too sure what they were doing in other people's mouths that deep.
Yes.
But that is a question from one of our viewers, Daktari.
All right.
What happens here?
Well,
and he's observed that it happens in the States.
In the States.
Why?
Well, in the States more, just like in Kenya also, we are more enlightened now about teeth. And in the States, they have to remove the wisdom teeth because they cause a lot of problems. Some of them, they don't grow inside the mouth. And we call them impacted teeth. Teeth were meant to come outside of the mouth, the jaw. If they are impacted inside, they might cause swellings, even others cause cysts. Others can lead to cancer. So that's why they are plugged, all the 4. By the way, we only need 28 teeth. We need 2 molars.
I hope my producer has heard that. He had an issue, and he had asked me to ask you. He has lost so far 5 teeth.
Wow.
And he's worried about the rate at which he's losing his teeth.
Yes.
And he wanted to know if it's a medical condition that he has. And I think he needs to see you also in camera to just explain how he lost his teeth. But you've said we can function comfortably with 28
teeth.
So I'm safe with I lost 2.
It depends which one did you lose. The ones we lose should be the wisdom teeth. If you lose any other, apart from the wisdom, and you have 28, or you are going to have problems because the others will have to bear the load of the missing tooth in chewing, in smiling, in biting, and therefore they drift in the space. So we only remove the last wisdom teeth because they are danger, as I said. They cause swellings, sometimes cysts, and others can become cancerous. Yeah. So we don't need them.
We don't need the wisdom teeth.
We don't need, even
so
I had mine plugged, all the 4, so I'm just maintaining my 28. Yeah.
Wow, great insight there. So viewer who was asking about why in the US they do away with your wisdom teeth, well, we can only focus, or rather we are recommendation there from the dentist is that we can function properly with just 28 teeth. Then maybe the question that is going through your mind, you're asking yourself, how many teeth does a human being naturally have? That's a question that we were asked in our biology and also science.
Yes.
But I would have wanted to throw that question to Ram Aguko.
Yes.
To just rope him and find out. You know, he's already been told he's using an expired toothbrush. And though he's, you've said that, his appearance of his teeth is quite formidable, it's fine.
Yeah.
We'd want to know, Ram Aguko, how many teeth does a human being normally have? If you can remember. Let's see if you failed in biology. You're the one who was lastly in school.
No, go on. Well, if I remember correctly, based on my biology, 32.
Bwana Daktari, is Ram correct?
Yes, Ram is correct.
I had my fingers crossed because...
Ram is correct because we have, a human being should have at least, should have 32 teeth.
32?
Yeah,
but they
28
can function with
functional.
28 functional.
Yes.
You see, I was in a situation, or rather, I was in a conversation with a very young girl.
Yes.
And she was asking me how many teeth a human being should have. And in the options there was 42.
Oh, wow.
And 32. And she was not just asking me, she was also asking, just in a forum, grown-ups.
Yes.
And one of us shouted 42.
Wow.
And I remember a dog has 42 teeth. At least. And I was like, wow, sometimes we think we are the authority when it comes to a few things.
True.
But yeah, we we fall short.
Exactly.
Indeed, now around there you're correct. At least you're doing well in as far as oral hygiene is
Sure.
concerned. The only issue is that your toothbrush is too old, it's
Yeah.
expired. And you didn't even tell us if it has a rugged edge towards the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll take. So we can function as humans with 28 teeth.
Yes.
Keep texting. Thank you very much for your feedback. And this is a conversation that we're keenly following and asking you what you think about, oral hygiene. A question here has come up is that, ask Bwana Daktari, issues of bad breath.
Yes.
How can I deal with bad breath? I think that's a great concern for many people.
Yes. Bad breath, we call it halitosis in dentistry. It happens when there's a lot of food debris that's already clogged, adhere to your teeth. You can just zoom here. Yeah. So you can see this part of the tooth here. It has got some yellow staining. This one is as a result of food that has not been removed, and therefore the bacteria can actually start using this food debris and then convert it to a hard substance called calculus. Now, calculus is very hard. The moment you see a yellow staining, your toothbrush cannot remove it. And it emits some odor, bad odor, foul smell. So it's just coming from that hard layer on top of the tooth. How do you deal with it? You visit your dentist, first of all. He's going to clean these teeth because, as you can see here, so this is a yellow kind of stain on the teeth. The toothbrush cannot remove it. It can never remove it, this one. So once you come to our office, any dentist's office, he's going to knock off this and then clean all the teeth and apply a medicament on top so that this staining or the calculus doesn't come again. But after that, you have to maintain it. It's just like taking your car to a garage, and then after how many kilometers, mileage, you have to take it back. So we can deal with bad breath by doing what you call maintenance of your teeth. At least every 6 months, you have to visit the dentist to just remove it. And also some people experience bad breath because they don't brush their tongue. So the tongue is harboring a lot of microbes, bacteria on top. So try to brush also on top of your tongue, and also you use mouthwash after brushing. It will eliminate. However, if you currently experience it right now, the home remedy might not help. You need a dentist to first of all repair and remove the hard substances which your toothbrush cannot remove. After that, you now maintain so that it doesn't come back. Yeah.
Now, away from issues of bad breath,
Yes.
Issue of braces.
Yes.
I know you told us that this align very well.
Yes.
This is how an ideal, I don't know, what do you call it? In
Occlusion.
dentistry? Oh, what?
Occlusion or
Occlusion.
bite. An ideal bite.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Anyway, this is how the optimal.
Yes, that's optimal.
But now we
standard.
find that people have what we call bunny teeth.
Yes.
Protruding.
Yes.
You know, we have some that are on top of each other. We have a
Overlappings.
myriad, all of overlappings.
Yes.
Recommendations about braces. What is the right time to have braces, especially among children?
Okay.
And for adults, someone who's already past 18, would you recommend braces for such teeth, maybe overlapping teeth or what we call bunny teeth?
Oh, yes. Recommended is the braces are the best option for treating malaligned teeth or overlapping teeth or protruded teeth. And for kids, at least the last adult tooth to erupt, the wisdom teeth is around 25 years, but we don't need them. The last tooth that we need erupts at the age of 13. So from 13, we can do what we call fixed braces. However, you don't have to wait for a child to be 13 years old. At 13, there are usually no milk teeth remaining. So that's the recommended time because we want to put the braces on only the adult teeth. So we wait until the age of 13. That's when we do fixed braces on the teeth. Before that, you don't have to wait. There are people who have specialized in braces. They're called orthodontists. They can see your child as early as 6 years, 7 years. They can do preventive measures so that you don't get the braces at the age of 13, because the braces are very expensive. However, the orthodontist is going to do what called preventive in the mixed dentition. You don't have to wait for all permanent to appear. That one will save you cost, and then also will help the child cope even at school, because from 6 you don't want to wait until 12, and the child will face a lot of bullying maybe, or what's happening to your tooth? Is it out? Is it inside? And those kids will bully them. So an orthodontist, when you see them before 13, they can do some appliances where the child will wear.
Now I'm past 13 and I have bunny teeth. We call them bunny teeth, maybe to just spruce them up. But you've termed them as protruding teeth. What to do? I'm past 13, I'm past 25.
Past 25, past 30 years, the orthodontist will fix it. However, in the adult, the bone is so fused, firm, fully mature. So it takes time to move that tooth. You know, the braces, what they do is they move one tooth from one area to the other. Actually, I can pull this tooth with the braces from left to right if I need it. For anyone below 18, below 25, it's easy. The bone is still soft. For an adult tooth, an adult person, it is doable. However, we tell them it's gonna take a little more time.
And is it painful? Maybe that's what. Is it painful? Because when it's rare for you to see adults with braces, and you know it's something that you used to see among the young. But now this is an adult who is considering braces. Is it painful?
Well, braces are painless. Actually, they are the safest procedure because there's no need for even anesthesia. So those who are afraid of needles, you don't need anesthesia or the needle injection for you to do braces. So you can tell how much painless they are. I'm working on your teeth without anesthesia, zero pain. So don't be afraid.
Zero pain, zero sensitivity.
If it's well done. Otherwise, you have to see a specialist who's doing that. Otherwise, some people can go somewhere and they do braces and their teeth become sensitive because they didn't bond them well, correctly. There's a specific area where your braces should go for an upper tooth, for a lower molar tooth, not just throwing them anyhow. Because at the end, we want a straight, perfect line. So it's a painless procedure.
I'd want to take you back to the issue of whitening, and we've seen so many commercials, and it would be, wrong of me to let you, a professional dentist who is on, practicing dentistry for the last decade, to let you go without answering this question. We've seen a lot of commercials without naming names. The issue of whitening, we have, toothpaste commercials that this is recommended by dentists. If you want to whiten your teeth, this is what you should do. But from where you sit, is this a hoax? Is it real? Does it work?
It works somehow because those products usually have got what you call carbamide peroxide. That's the reagent for whitening any teeth. So it just depends what's the concentration of the carbamide peroxide inside. So some of them can work because they have a higher content of carbamide peroxide. Some of them cannot work because they're cheap and they have a lower percentage of carbamide peroxide. Even when you come to our dental office or any dentist's office, we also use the carbamide peroxide to whiten your teeth. Our concentration usually ranges from 35% to 40%. At 40%, I will whiten your teeth in 5 minutes. Sparkling white, crystal clear.
Do we have such a product in the market?
Oh, yes.
We do?
We do.
Like in the shelves?
No, that is not
in the shelf.
So
what is close? I know no business, dental business is will be shut up. But just advice. Someone who is really keen on teeth whitening, not because it has fluorosis, as you said, but just basically to have a beautiful smile. When I'm buying a toothpaste, what should I look out for?
For a toothpaste, well, a toothpaste that will at least have phosphate and calcium inside so that it can make your teeth stronger. If you have, if you're living in areas that have got high fluoride, like the Rift Valley or Nairobi, Kajiado, Rongai, even Embakasi, please make sure that before you lift it and pay to the counter, look at the content of fluoride. People living in those areas should not use a toothpaste that have got fluoride. So what you're looking for depends on where you're living and the water you are consuming. Does the water have fluoride? So you use a fluoride-free paste. Otherwise, that's a danger if you have a fluoride issue and you're adding more fluoride on your teeth. Yeah.
So people who are residing in areas with extra or rather an excess of fluoride should avoid fluoride toothpaste.
Exactly.
That is my take home today. Kajiado area, Rift Valley, you've said even Embakasi, that's the type of water, the Athi River.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, we are proceeding well. The issue of replacements, and at what point would a dentist recommend, an extraction?
Wow.
Is there at one time, or what is the last line of defense? Because I hear in your circles as a dentist that you would never recommend an extraction.
Yes.
What is the last line of defense?
Especially from the endodontist or specialist root canal perspective, we have been called, just like any other dentist, to save teeth. And our teeth were created by God to last for a lifetime. So the last resort I will do is when only when there's no more crown, this part here, you can just zoom here. So maybe the tooth decayed, there is no more enamel, there's no more dentine, and it's just a retained root. Only the root, the inside part of your tooth is remaining. That is when I can say, okay, this is a irrational tooth to treat or restore, so I'm going to plug it out. However, any other tooth, even if it's decayed halfway, I'm able to do root canal treatment and build it up, just like constructing a house. And then on top, I'll put a permanent crown. So we don't recommend, if you're given options between extract and do root canal or save it, I recommend that you go for an extraction, a root canal treatment. Because an extraction is costly, root canal is cheaper in the sense that after you extract your tooth, you will need a permanent replacement. Most people come to us, I want something permanent. I don't want dentures. So, you removed your tooth. So we give you options for an implant. This is an example of an implant. It's costly. Currently, Nairobi is ranging from 100,000 to 250,000, depending on whatever material it's made of or which country it's coming from. So given options between saving and retaining it, kindly choose retaining the tooth, because when you come back for replacement, it's more costly. While root canal treatment, to save it, is going to be very cheap and affordable at the end.
Now, what happens in a situation where a tooth was plucked, but did not, come off the parts of it that are still there? It
inside.
broke. Basically, the tooth broke.
Yes.
What to do?
Okay. When a tooth has broken inside the jaw, what we do is we have dedicated tools to pick that piece.
So do you recommend that in the event that I have been living there, I'm giving a case scenario because one of the questions that has come through, this person has been living with a broken tooth, and whenever they are passing in their tongue through their mouth, there's a bit of sensitivity, or especially to the tongue.
Yes.
What would you recommend for them?
Okay, I'll say that you visit your nearest dentist, and then they'll have to remove that remaining piece inside, because that's also a danger. A broken tooth is like a tunnel to your body. You can just zoom here. This is a decayed tooth. This one is a decayed tooth. And if it's broken inside here, it's like a tunnel, a communication from your mouth to the jaw. So that's very dangerous. Everything you're eating is being transmitted from the tooth inside the jaw. So it will cause inflammation, cellulitis, and infection, even sometimes swelling. So it starts as little as sensitivity, as you said, progresses to pain. Again, if you don't seek medical advice, it will go to swellings, which is life-threatening. So a broken tooth is dangerous. It's like a direct communication between your mouth and your jaw, which has got blood vessels. And that bacteria might actually travel from the tooth all the way to the rest of your body. That's very dangerous. So let him go and have it extracted.
Have it extracted.
Yeah.
Ben, I believe that you've heard. Now, crossing over to Twitter, we have W_M at William Mwaburi. He says, KBC Channel 1, Ray Manyara and others, good morning from Watamu. Many thanks, and I love the show. I use hydrogen peroxide for mouthwash and deodorant, and has really shaped my breath. Daktari, I've had hydrogen peroxide for mouthwash and deodorant. What are we talking? When I say a deo, I think it's supposed to be
yes.
Uh-huh.
So the hydrogen peroxide, just like what I said, carbamide peroxide makes the teeth whiter. Any peroxide, it has an oxidizer inside, the hydrogen. So carbamide peroxide, hydrogen peroxide are in the same category. So the hydrogen peroxide is helping him to whiten his teeth, and the deodorant to freshen his teeth. However, any chemical that goes in our body is harmful. Even mouthwashes, we don't recommend that you use them daily. There's a certain concentration that you reach, and then your body cannot handle anymore. So you have to be careful.
Sparingly use your mouthwash.
Actually, just dilute them if you can. Yeah.
Now, Miranda Daniel, at Daniel Miranda says, I'm glad to get all this knowledge. I thought tooth care was just the basic washing. So congratulations, Daktari. It seems that we're reaching the masses as you should.
Thank you,
Now,
Daniel.
Premier League champions at Premier League, said someone who goes by that name 2019, he or she says, I don't know the sex of this person, I hate toothpicks. I'd rather bite off the tip of one of my fingernails and use instead, or use my mouthwash or tongue, anything but toothpicks. Bwana Daktari, what do you have to say to that? And that one has their own.
Okay, just leave the toothpick.
Leave the toothpick.
And get a dental floss.
Dental floss.
Yes.
So kindly, Daniel, that is, was that Daniel? Actually, that was Premier League champion says, Daktari says that just stay away from toothpicks, use floss and a good toothbrush. Yeah, and a good toothbrush.
Exactly.
Still keeping up with the feedback, and thank you for the feedback that you're sending. Remember, our Twitter handle is at KBC Channel 1 News and KBC Channel 1 TV. Mine is at Ray Manyara, and Ram Aguko's there. Now, Jackie Masiga, at Jackie Masiga, question is that ni toothpaste tutabai ama ni floss? This one is asking which one do I pick? Is it did you recommend a toothpaste or floss?
Well, Jackie, you need both. The toothpaste and the floss. The toothpaste will help you during brushing, and the floss will help you brush areas where your toothpaste cannot reach. In between the teeth, your toothbrush cannot reach. So you need both. Yes.
At Dorothy Marvel says, good morning. Please ask Daktari if using hydrogen peroxide to treat toothache is safe and effective. Thanks. That is Dorothy Marvel on Twitter.
Well, hydrogen peroxide, Dorothy, has no numbing or anesthetic effect. So it's not effective in treating toothache. Toothache, we are dealing with pain. So it might just, for a short term, relieve your pain. However, it's really not effective long term. Yes.
Keep the conversation flowing. This is live. We appreciate your feedback. Thank you for being on board. Everyone who has contributed so far, we appreciate your feedback, and I hope you're getting the answers to those particular questions as informative as it is. We'll still continue the conversation. Daktari, as we come, or rather as we're winding up, oral hygiene is something that we have, frowned upon, and most Kenyans find that, it's inane. We do not invest in oral hygiene other than just brushing our teeth.
Yes.
You've said that we need 2 by 2. 2 by 2 is a policy.
Yes.
Brush twice a day, preferably after every meal.
Yes.
Visit a dentist
twice a year.
Twice a year,
Yes.
after every 6 months.
Yes.
That being said and done, from your professional point of view, what would be your advice, especially to parents, and about taking care of their children's teeth? Because I tend to believe it comes from that level. Yeah, maybe you can start off from there. Advice to parents taking care of children.
Well, you have to impact your children as early as they can on these oral hygiene measures, as early as they are even toddlers, preschool. Even without teeth, you just take a handkerchief and then you wipe the tongue, because there are no teeth at that moment. When the first tooth comes out, you buy for them. In the market, there are toothbrushes and toothpaste dedicated for children. So once you start brushing them after every meal. When they start talking, they're like, oh, why are you doing this every day? And you have to tell them that it's just to keep your teeth healthy so that you don't lose any. So once you start, as a parent, your role is to start training these children as early as possible so that when they grow up, they're able to even instill the same habits of brushing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, let's talk about people who smoke, people who chew cut, or what we fondly refer to as mra. People from my community especially, I come from the Meru region.
Yes.
Chewing of mira is somewhat, you know, a normal pastime, you know.
Yes.
So what are the dangers in terms of, you know, how do then women, we are chewing mira, yes, we are smoking. How then do we maintain oral hygiene?
Any person having those practices now have to visit a dentist even more often than any other person, because most, like for example, smoking, okay? Smoking, actually, the teeth are like being smoked every day, so they discolor like every hour. Every puff you have is going to smoke to discolor your teeth. So you visit the dentist as soon as possible, because any slight coating of your teeth will lead to a decay, and then a decay will lead to a sensitivity. That's the sequel. Sensitivity will lead to pain. So for people practicing those habits, they ought to visit the dentist regularly, not even actually twice a year.
More often.
More often.
When do you recommend, I thought especially with the chewing of mirados or cut, when do you recommend the use of a hard toothbrush?
Hard toothbrush is maybe, I wouldn't recommend it. I don't recommend hard toothbrush. It's going to damage your gums. Yes.
So the solution is not brushing harder.
If you feel that your teeth are harder and nothing is coming out, the dentists have a dedicated machine to do that for you. Don't buy the hardest toothbrush. Once that layer is blocked out, then you can now go to your soft brushing. Yes. Yes.
In old age, we find that, you know, as we age, some of the older demographic end up losing their teeth.
Yes. Shoshos.
Yes, the shoshos don't have the teeth.
Yes.
What to do? And they still want to chew. What to do?
Okay, what to do? We have remedies for shoshos. We have, if someone has lost all their teeth, starting from the most recommended, we have implants. We can do implants for the mouth. You don't have to have 32 or 28 implants in your teeth. There are people specialized to replace your teeth permanently when you are in old age by putting implants, maybe 2 on the left, 2 on the right, and they connect the rest of the implant with crowns. That's option number 1. So that's a permanent replacement. But it's very costly. The other remedy is to do what we call dentures. Dentures are removable. It's just like a watch. So you put it on.
It's the ones that we see.
Yes.
There's a joke among grandchildren that whenever we go to Shosho's place, he or she is always forgetting their teeth.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and they always, when they're going to bed, they soak it in
water.
Okay,
yes.
I wish those are scary stories growing up with, you know, shoshos as other grandparents who had to, you know, have their teeth replaced.
Yes.
Now, as we come to a close, we've talked about oral hygiene.
Yes.
What is the main cause of not achieving oral hygiene at this point, especially in an adult, from where you sit? Is it our habits? Is it because we do not know how to brush our teeth as we should? What, in your perspective, do you think is the main hurdle towards attaining oral hygiene among individuals?
In adults? Especially in adults, there could be other socioeconomic factors. Someone might not afford a toothbrush or toothpick, but that should not limit you from maintaining, because even in the village, you can plug some herbs or trees and then you have to brush your teeth. Others could be maybe stress-related for an adult. I've seen people who are stressed and they have toothbrush, floss, and the paste, but they don't have time to go to the bathroom. So that could be also a factor. Another thing could be maybe medical conditions like disabilities. In that case, you have to employ someone to do for you oral health care, maybe a nurse to brush your teeth. Yeah. And also, maybe someone was not impacted enough as early as they were growing up. So that habit is not in them. So they say, oh, I don't need to brush. Or even adults now, they brush before food, before breakfast. I see people wake up from bed. The first thing they do before they go to shower is they brush their teeth. That's not a good habit. You brush after your breakfast, before you dash off, not when you're just almost taking breakfast. It will not help you. Yes. So it's about habits and your upbringing, but it's not too late. It's not too late. You know, they say like 90 hours of practice will impact your habit. So you can start now, just the next 90 hours, you know. Every week, every day you do 1 or so minutes until 90 hours. You'll still get the habit and of brushing. You'll maintain your teeth. We need them. Remember, healthy teeth equals to a healthy lifetime. It will improve your smiling. It will improve your biting. It will improve your appearance as a person.
Self-esteem issues.
Yes.
That you can smile bravely for the camera, just like Ram Aguko did, you know, for our inspection of, you know, the placement of his teeth.
Exactly.
He may have been
confident
using...
smiles for
yes, confident smiles. Confident smiles.
Yes.
Confident smiles.
Yes.
Now, thank you very much, Dr. Benjamin Simiyu, for your time.
All right.
Thank you, everyone who's been, you know, just keeping us informed and all those questions. And I hope we've answered your questions in regard to matters of oral hygiene. Now, before I let you go, is just to sample the last one, if the director can allow us.
Okay.
And someone says, actually, they just... Actually, they've used an emoji. I think I need to ask someone to interpret that particular emoji. We have a love heart. We have a fist.
Biceps.
Yes, a bicep. Then we have, I think, some demon. Then I'm like, wow, okay, I do not know. I do not understand emoji language. But thank you very much for contributing in whatever manner that you have. That has been Dr. Benjamin Simiyu of Royal Smiles KE, just taking us through issues of oral hygiene. And the take home is a 2x2 kind of formula to attain oral hygiene. Brush at least twice after every meal, and ensure that you visit a dentist at least twice a year. A toothbrush, at least change it as often as it should, especially if you're prone to colds and such. But if you're not, recommended is 3 months. That's a longevity, or rather the duration of your toothbrush. When you're buying a toothbrush, there's medium, there's soft. The recommended one is the medium one. The back of it, the back of the toothbrush, maybe let me just demonstrate that. The back of the toothbrush, this is a part that you use. This is what I've learned, you know, and I think I can share with a lot of authority, that this is a part that you use to brush your tongue and not the bristles. Because in as much as we are thrusting in and out thoroughly to brush our tongue, we might be doing damage to our tongue and, you know, lose the sensitive sense of taste from the tongue. So now you know. How about we now cross back to the roads and sample what is happening? Are Kenyans awake? And if they're awake, as they're heading to their various workstations. Over to you.
Interesting discussion there on matters oral hygiene. At least for me and also for our viewers now know best with toothbrush to buy, how to proper brush your teeth, and also how to take care of your dental hygiene as a whole. But now a couple of minutes past, again, the top of the hour, time for our next traffic link-up segment. And now we are around the Nyayo Stadium roundabout. Just want to see how this specific place is doing in terms of traffic. This is again one of those busy roundabouts as it connects to Mombasa Road, which is what you're seeing right now. But clearly, there's a clear movement of vehicles on that specific area. This is just as you leave Mombasa Road, coming through Uhuru Highway, going all the way to the city center. But that's that in terms of Mombasa Road. I just want us to look at another road, which is again one of those roads that branches off from this roundabout, which is the Nyayo Stadium roundabout, and that is Langata Road. Again, one of those busy roads in terms of traffic, and you can also clearly spot the traffic police there just like how we normally see them on major roundabouts or even on major roads such as this one, trying to do their best in terms of controlling the traffic gridlock there. But clearly on the lane that is leaving Langata Road, as well as estates that ply Langata, that is Nairobi West, Langata itself, coming to the city center, it is obvious for us to see what we are seeing, and that is heavy traffic build-up. But even at that, in as much as, yes, it's a bit heavy, but at least the traffic police are trying to do their best. They are trying to see how best they can control traffic. But also like what you are seeing around Westlands area, where we were really also spotting both kind of vehicles. This is both public, private, as well as motorcycles. It is still the same case on Langata Road. But again, also an interesting thing is that on the lane that is leaving the roundabout, that is the Nyayo Stadium roundabout, as well as Lusaka Road on the other side, and also Mombasa Road on the other left side. On that specific lane, it's clearly moving at a fast pace. There's no traffic at all. Just where there's a bit of traffic, and when I'm saying a bit, is because the traffic police are also controlling that, because clearly also what we are seeing is they have opened up that lane. So that ultimately means, in as much as yes, there's traffic, at least they're controlling that. So they've opened up that lane to go to Uhuru Highway, which is our next focus early this morning, as well as also going to Lusaka Road and even Mombasa Road. So also, again, an interesting thing is that also on that lane, in fact, there's no traffic at all. Oftentimes, we normally see heavy traffic build up, especially on the lane that is leaving Mombasa Road, leaving Lusaka Road, as well as Langata Road, heading all the way through Uhuru Highway as you head over to the city center. But as of now, there's no traffic at all, moving really, really fast. But where there's a bit of a traffic snarl up is on the lane that is leaving Haile Selassie Avenue, leaving Wayaki Way, Uhuru Highway as you come to Lusaka Road, as well as using the roundabout heading to Mombasa Road. That is just where there's a bit of a traffic snarl up. But also, just like what we are witnessing just like what you are witnessing along Langata Road, there's also the traffic police there trying to see how best they can control traffic on that specific road. So in as much as, yes, there's a bit of a traffic, but at least it's quite manageable. But also to our viewers, what I can say is that there's no alternative route, and this is especially if you're coming from Wayaki Way, if you're coming from Uhuru Highway, heading all the way over to, again, Langata Road or even Lusaka Road, using that specific area. There's no alternative route. So what that means is that you may just have to make do with that traffic there. But at least in as much as there's a bit of a traffic snarl up, it is quite manageable. So that's that in terms of traffic this morning around the Nyayo Stadium roundabout, which is what we are trying to focus on this next traffic link-up segment, seeing that this roundabout connects to a number of roads. As I had mentioned earlier, there's Langata Road, which is what we are focusing on. There's Uhuru Highway on the other side, actually where it leaves as you head over to the Nyayo Stadium roundabout. And there's also Mombasa Road, which is also what we are looking at. And I can clearly see also as of now that has changed a bit, because there's a bit of a traffic snarl up there. So again, also for those heading over to Mombasa Road, then they might just have to make do with that traffic there. But also it connects to Lusaka Road, which clearly right now is moving at a pretty fast pace. There's barely any traffic, and even in just slight specific areas where there's a bit of a traffic snarl up, at least it's quite manageable. And also one thing that I've noticed on this roundabout is traffic police are stationed on each of these roads that branches off from this roundabout, just as I had shown you and also mentioned earlier to you, trying to see how best they can control traffic. So at least they're trying to show us that in as much as, yes, there's heavy traffic in the early morning hour, but at least they're upping their game to see how best they can control that. So that's that in terms of traffic this morning, our focus being around Nyayo Stadium roundabout on our next link-up segment. But I want to take it back to studio for our next interview, concerning matters with actually family matters, where Ram will be taking us through that interview up next in studio. Ram, over to you.
Thank you very much, Doreen, for that traffic update. It is now 20 minutes past 9 a.m. We've had an interesting discussion with Regina Manyara-Gitao. Well, today I can proudly say it was said by the dentist that I have one of the best dental formula right here in KBC. I can proudly say that, and I can smile. I think I should be in one of the adverts there. Yes? Well, keep your teeth healthy. Well, now we shift gears into family check this morning. Now, there has been an increase in the gender-based violence cases in Kenya in the recent past, considering the COVID-19 pandemic. The Cabinet Secretary for Public Service and Gender, that is Professor Margaret Kobia, noted that the stringent measures, including the stay-at-home case calls to effect the fight against COVID-19, puts vulnerable groups, including women, girls, and children at a risk of domestic violence. This morning, we shall be discussing family law, divorce, gender-based violence, child protection, matrimonial property, and much more. Well, I'm joined by Clarice Osoro. She is an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. Karibu sana, Clarice.
Asante sana. I'm happy to be here.
And karibu kwa Good Morning Kenya. Hope you're well.
I am well.
Remember, the hashtag as always is Good Morning Kenya. Keep tweeting and keep texting at Ramaguko, at Jane Omboy, at Ray Banyara, at Doreen Narange, and at KBC Channel 1. We are live on our social media platforms and on our website at www.kbc.co.ke. Family check starts now. Now, Clarice,
yes.
Let's first of all start with the issues in regards to gender-based violence. In this early in the years, in the 70s, in the 80s, divorce cases were not as much compared to the current statistics that we have right now, because women back then were told to persevere, to just hold on to your marriage. But currently, what can make someone to say enough is enough?
Well,
at what point?
I believe the divorce cases are higher in these our times, because there's technology, information technology, there's social media. People talk about these things, so people know the steps they can take. People know the violence is wrong. People can speak up. We are not. We are more educated, women are more empowered. You realize that people endure these relationships that are violent because they have nowhere to go. They do not have an upkeep. They cannot maintain their children. We see people stay in abusive households because of their children. Most of the reasons women give is that they need to have their children get an education and basically have a good life.
They wonder where will I take my children?
Nowadays, women have gone to school, they're educated, they can earn a living, so it's easier for them to walk out.
But now, speaking of walking out, at what point, because women go through this gender-based violence, at what point should someone draw the line and say that my life could be at risk?
I believe drawing the line is a personal issue. You cannot really tell someone, now leave this house, this is abuse. There are women that leave the home. I believe we should first start at nature of abuse. Abuse can be financial, it could be psychological, emotional, it could be physical. So there are women that leave when abuse is emotional, shouting, and financial if the man is not providing, yet he is in a position to provide. So people leave, it depends with your level of perseverance. Yes, women leave at, there are women who do not leave at all, so they stay put.
They stay put.
Yeah.
Do we, you are an advocate of the High Court.
Yes, I am.
What are the grounds of divorce?
Grounds of divorce are mainly three. There is cruelty, there is adultery, that is infidelity, and there is irreconcilable differences. Now, violence, cruelty comes in many forms. The financial abuse is cruelty. Physical violence is cruelty. Silent treatment is also abuse, and that's also cruelty. Depends on the way you present it to court, you can be granted a divorce.
Hold on, let me get you there. Yeah. You've said silent treatment is abuse.
It's abuse, it's emotional abuse, yes it is.
So someone can sue you in court for,
for
being silent.
You file a petition for divorce, and that can actually be a ground.
Wow, I did not know that.
It is abuse, it is cruelty, yes.
So you okay, let's define cruelty. You're saying if someone can be quiet for a given period of time that you feel infringes on your psychological or emotional stability, you can go to court. What other cases do we have that define cruelty? that is emotional?
There's emotional abuse. Emotional abuse is so broad a subject because by the time abuse gets to physical abuse, there's already a lot of emotional abuse that is involved. Because someone does not just wake up one day and starts hitting you. There's the raising of voices. There's the financial aspect that I've talked about.
Yes, yes.
Emotional abuse, it's degrading treatment generally. So the way someone treats you and they make you feel like a lesser human being before they now become violent.
Now, when some women stay in difficult marriages, they do that because of fear that they lose everything. You had mentioned that earlier on, and that they have financially contributed in their marriage for a long time. They're looking at losses in terms of they lose their house, they will lose their land, they will lose businesses or other assets upon divorce. Now, how best can this be handled so that we don't have fear of a woman losing everything?
Okay. I think where women are concerned, there's the material contribution, but also the immaterial contribution where you don't really use your finances. Yeah, you keep the home, ensure that everyone is comfortable, everyone is well fed, the home is clean. It's that's also part of emotional investment in a union. I believe it's a lot of work. If women feel it's a lot of work, and it's a fact.
Clearly.
It's a fact. So walking away from that and starting afresh takes work.
Okay.
And then
you mentioned their houses, land. Do you have ways of protecting them?
There are ways of protecting them, but first women have to know that in the event they want to settle down with someone, they should ensure that the union is registered.
The union?
Yes.
You're talking about
if
marriage.
the marriage is not registered, it's not a legal marriage, there is no way you can enforce your rights under matrimonial property.
So come we stay does not fit this description. If you are coming stay, you cannot go to court.
No. Prior to 2013, there was a presumption of marriage.
Yes.
But the Marriage Act came in place and indicated that the only proof of marriage is a marriage certificate. So without a marriage certificate, should you invest in property with a supposed spouse, there is no way you can go to court and say that you want a portion of the same.
Now, what is matrimonial property and how should it be divided upon divorce?
Matrimonial property is property that has been obtained or developed in the duration of a marriage. So, for instance, if you have a girlfriend and you had property before you married her, that is not matrimonial property unless she contributes in developing that property or you develop that property
so
during the subsistence of that marriage.
Anything that you acquire after marriage, not before.
It's matrimonial property and it's subject to division in the event of a divorce. Yeah.
And in case, let's talk about a business that has been going on before someone got married, and now that they got engaged in marriage, does that business also classify as a matrimonial property?
It becomes matrimonial property so long as the other party equally contributes to it. I would like to think also the fact that this other, even if the wife is a housewife and you have some investment somewhere, she runs the home and ensures you're in the right state of mind to bring an income using this investment. In the event of a divorce, she should be entitled to at least a percentage of the same. But if she directly contributes, my position is that should be 50-50.
Should be 50-50.
Yeah.
But now, how can both parties now claim their right share of matrimonial property?
Usually you go to court and the court decides depending on the evidence you bring forward.
Is there any procedure of this?
You file for divorce, but the courts usually do not divide matrimonial property unless the divorce has been concluded. You can get preservative orders so that the other party does not dispose of the property or sell it pending the divorce. But after the divorce, now the court decides. You go to the High Court under the Matrimonial Property Act and you have the property divided.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, women's rights to matrimonial property is protected under the Kenyan law. I believe that is the case.
Yeah, that's the case.
But the current Kenyan laws, have Kenya's new matrimonial laws solved some of these problems that we have when it comes to the sharing or the allocation of matrimonial property. Before the 2013 Matrimonial Property Act and 2014 Marriage Act, marriage-related laws were from colonial times. And these colonial laws portrayed women as property of their husbands and men as heads of households and primary breadwinners. That was how it was then. And this is what trickled down to our Kenyan law of the Matrimonial Property Act of 2013. Now, this means that at the end of a marriage, a woman is left with nothing. Have our current laws changed this perspective?
I believe we have very good laws where matrimonial property is concerned, but the issue comes in when women do not know their rights. There's this saying that we go to law school to learn to fight for women's rights, but women have always had rights. It's just that they do not know their rights. So if you do not know the law and how the law can come in place to protect your interests, there is no way you can protect yourself.
You've reminded me of a book that says people suffer because of lack of knowledge.
Yeah, lack of knowledge. So if you're going to invest with a man or a woman, you have to know in what capacity are you investing? Are you investing as a joint shareholder or whatever it is, or are you investing as a wife? So if the union is not registered, there's no way you can come to court and say you invested with someone, or you helped them invest, or you helped them acquire property. Yeah, you have to register.
So the aspect of, you mentioned, are you investing as a shareholder?
Yeah.
Or as a wife? That's where we need to draw the lines here.
Or you could be an employee, because most spouses come to court and say, no, she did it or he did it in her capacity as my employee. Yeah.
And in the capacity of a fiancé,
you have no rights in matrimonial property if you're just a fiancé. You have to register the union, at least formalize it.
So what we can say that Kenyans need to understand is that as long as you're not yet married, any investment you make in anybody can go down the drain whether you like it or not, because you did not sign any document showing that you are under a covenant that I call marriage. Okay. Now, when a man dies without leaving a will, how does matrimonial property get shared?
I believe you mean when a spouse dies.
When a spouse dies. When a spouse dies. Yes.
Either spouse can die.
Either. But the reason why I mentioned man is because of the aspect of, you mentioned there, women being at the at a compromising position of losing property.
Even women, you know, I like to look at spouse, because you can have property as a married woman that you obtained before the marriage, and when you die, you lose the property. It cannot, if you have not put in appropriate measures, whoever gets the property may be not the person you intended to. You intended.
So it can be either.
Yeah, it can be either way. Yeah.
So how should the property be distributed upon the occurrence that there is no will?
So matrimonial home normally remains with the spouse. Matrimonial home is where the parties lived together during the subsistence of their marriage. Yeah.
We've seen cases.
In the event of death, then matrimonial home is not up for grabs.
Property. What about the property? Because we've seen cases in the past where when one spouse dies, the family comes to claim the property.
Yeah, the family comes to claim the property. Usually when a spouse dies, you have to go to court. In the event they do not have a will, you get letters of administration, so that you get someone that will administer the property. But then again, you cannot disinherit your children. So usually they distribute the property in order of consanguinity. So it's usually the wife and then the children, and then now the parents. Then there's an order, yes. But then again, there's also, if there's a will, then the court tries as much as possible to follow the wills of the deceased person. Yeah.
But in case there's no will, you have to follow that order. Number one.
If parties do not agree, yeah.
And the first person is the wife?
Usually it's the wife, so long as the spouse did not do anything that led to the person's death. Yeah, you cannot benefit from your own wrong.
And if we have the families your spouse's family coming into the picture, what point do they fit in?
Whether if they were dependents, if they were dependents of the deceased person, they cannot be disinherited. If the estate allows, then they have to be provided for.
Brothers of the spouse?
If they were dependents.
If they and if they were not?
They're not in, yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about the children. Upon death, we've had cases where children come in, or there are people who come in claiming that they were children of the deceased. How then does this get solved?
Well, these children, were they known? If they were known as children, they have to be provided for. But if they were not, it's safe to do a DNA test. If the DNA test is positive, then they have to be provided for. Yes.
And in case the DNA turns positive, what is the procedure after that?
They are provided for under the law. They just need to do an application, yeah.
Now, the situation can also get messy, where in cases of violence, and sometimes children can get malicious, and they're willing to do anything to inherit more property than other siblings. We've had such cases in court. How do you ensure protection of both life and property in this case and bring a balance at the same time?
Usually, when a deceased person, it's a criminal. It's an offense to. It's called intermeddling, interfering with the property of the deceased person before letters of administration have been issued. You can go to court and cite them for intermeddling, and there's also the Protection Against Domestic Violence Act that came in place recently. In the event there's violence by any family member, I believe if there are other siblings that came after the death, it still amounts to domestic violence. You can get restraining orders under that act. Yeah, you can. The criminal law provides for assault. You can also sue them under the criminal law.
These cases of people fighting over land, how can these cases be reduced and solved in the court of law?
It is safer for people to know that they should have wills. Most people don't. I'm sure you even don't have a will. Do you? You should have a will.
I should have a will.
Yes, you should have a will for anything that you have acquired. Just to go off topic a bit, even for children, if you're co-parenting, I believe we'll come to that.
Yes,
but just in case it will skip me, even in the event you're co-parenting, you should at least have in place your wishes for in the event you die, who should have custody of your child. Yeah.
We were actually, that was the last part. But now that you've touched on that,
yes.
the will. At what age should someone start thinking of getting a will?
I believe an adult, 18 years, yes.
At the age of 18?
At the age of 18. Even at 18, you're in campus, you have your small TV, you would want someone to inherit it. Yeah, there's really no limit. Yeah, so long as you're an adult, you're of sound mind, you can register.
You can have a will.
Yeah.
That upon my death, I can do this.
Yep.
You've touched on child custody. How should it be ensured? I'm looking at section 24 of the Children's Act. It says this, and I quote: "Where a child's father and mother were married to each other at the same at the time of this at the time of his birth, they shall have parental responsibility for the child, and neither the father nor the mother of the child shall have a superior right or claim against the other in exercise of such parental responsibility."
Yeah.
End of quote. How do we ensure child custody upon divorce?
I usually advise my clients to decide among themselves before they have to go to court, because each union, each couple knows what works best for them. But in the event you have to go to court, then responsibility of our children is 50-50. But when it comes to custody, mostly it depends with the age of the children. If they are children of tender years, most of the time they stay with their mother. Of course, there are exceptions. The event the mother is a drunkard, or maybe she's of unsound mind, or yeah.
That was exactly where I was coming to, because this act it talks about responsibility of the child being neither the father nor the mother of the child, neither shall have a superior right or claim. At what point should someone say that one spouse should be given more, let me say, time with the child, or more responsibilities with the child?
Responsibilities are 50-50. So unless one party is, sometimes I have clients who have wanted to work out of the country, so custody is given to one parent. But should a father feel that he wants to spend more time with the child, he can always approach the court, so long as his prayers are reasonable. The court will always grant. However, should custody be given, there's usually legal custody and there's physical custody. So both parties are given legal custody, but then the mother, if it's a child of 10 years, gets physical custody. So she stays with the child, but with access, so long as it's reasonable or unlimited, depending with the parties. So it varies. But there's nothing in law that blocks someone from staying with their child. Yeah.
And what about in the case of incapacitation? I'm talking about maybe financial constraints, mental constraints, psychological constraints. Do they also have a role to play here?
Yes, they do have a role to play. And sometimes a mother can want to stay with the children, but she cannot afford it. She cannot, perhaps she has no job. And it might be costly for the man to pay rent and food and every other expense for the minors while they're living away from him. So he can always seek to have custody of the children on that ground, and the court is likely to consider it. It basically depends on how you present your case.
All right. Now let's touch on child protection. How do you ensure children are protected? Looking at the cases that we've seen during this pandemic, how by law can you ensure child protection during divorce cases and post divorce?
If I may ask, protection from
whichever we are talking about sexual abuse, because child protection has different angles, right? Sexual abuse, we're talking about child protection from any form of harm.
Okay, because if it is sexual abuse, it depends where is this abuse coming from. Yes, but because you've mentioned divorce, I'm thinking you are talking about the psychological aspect.
Psychological aspect. Sometimes children get,
children get affected. During divorces.
And sometimes, some spouses run away with their children. How do you protect the child?
I believe parties should know that your spouse is bad for you. In the event you want a divorce, that's okay, but he or she's not necessarily bad for your child. So there has to be that boundary. You understand? There has to be that boundary. If your spouse is bad for you, they are not necessarily bad for their children.
Because,
So unless now there's the sexual abuse that you're talking about, or whatever form of abuse that you feel is going to affect the children. But so long as, if parties are going through a divorce, I believe they have to talk to their children about it and try to make the transition as smooth as possible.
So you should ensure that you make your child know about what's going on.
Yes. So when we go to the children's court, the court looks at the best interest of the child. And I like to advise my clients that when you go to court, you should not go with an effort to prove a point to the other party that, I got this from you, you will pay upkeep, you'll do. What you're looking at is the best interest of the children.
What are the hazardous effects of doing that?
Psychologically, the children will be affected. And then we have children who are wounded even well into their adult years because of this friction between the parents, having to bring the children to court to have them testify against their parents. All these things affect the children negatively. I don't think it benefits the children in any way. So to protect them, it's good to understand that the other person is equally hurting and try to put yourself in their shoes and try to get to an understanding, at least, where custody and upkeep is concerned.
Now, these are all included in protecting your child. Now, in the case of a divorce that involves, let's say, one person and both parents are not the biological parents of the child. So we are talking about stepfathers.
Oh.
Yeah, stepfathers, and I'm talking about adoption.
Okay.
In both cases, where one parent is the biological parent, but the other is not. And we're talking about in cases of adoption where now this couple decides to adopt a child, but now they want to divorce. In these cases, how do we ensure that the welfare of the children are protected?
If, let's say you marry a lady that has a child, and you have taken this child in and have provided for this child
Exactly, yes.
for at least a period of 12 months, you have acquired responsibility over this child. So in the event of divorce, you will still continue providing for this child.
It has to be within, it has to be more than 12 months.
Yeah, you acquire parental responsibility if you continually acquire this, you continually provide for a child, for 12 months. Yeah. So in the event of adoption, parties have to really agree on who takes the child, who has custody. In which case, the court will be reasonable, looking at all factors. Yeah.
And in the case that one happens in where we have you getting involved with someone who already has a child, and you've taken care of them for more than a year. In the case of adoption, what are the merits that we have so far that will be followed? Because we are looking at a court that is looking at the interests of a child who is not the biological child of both parents who are getting into divorce.
I think an adopted child has equal rights as a biological child, so the law is the same.
It applies.
It applies, yes.
Will the child be given to any?
Depending on whether they are of tender years, they'll go with the mother. Access will be granted to the father. Yeah, maintenance has to be paid. It's equal rights. Yeah.
Now let's talk about you mentioned infidelity also, right? What are the procedures to follow upon accusations of infidelity?
Infidelity, when you're filing for divorce, right?
Yes.
Infidelity is such a difficult thing to prove in a court of law. Because you need to have photographs. Most of the time you have to sue the other person that is moving around with your spouse. So you sue them as a respondent, so that most of the time they usually do not respond to the petition.
Okay.
But then again, if infidelity is so hard to prove, you can always rely on because by the time someone is unfaithful to you, there's a manner in which they treat you that is cruel, degrading. So you can rely on that under cruelty.
So using infidelity as a form of
it's really difficult to prove adultery.
It's difficult to prove adultery.
It's difficult. It's difficult. It's costly. You'll need investigators. You'll need people do not just cheat on you in public. Unless in Nairobi.
Unless in Nairobi.
Nairobi is strange.
It's a strange place to be.
Yes.
We've had cases of murders. We're talking about criminal acts. One spouse killing the other, or a parent killing their child. In one recent case, we had a woman who killed 4 of her own children, and now claims that it was a demonic manifestation. It was a hand of the devil. What are the laws that go around cases like this?
I believe the recent case is very sad because a mother killed 4 children.
Yeah.
I would like to think, first of all, before we go to the law, there are many issues surrounding murders in the home.
Yeah.
I believe if we address the issues that lead to violence and murders and all these other things, depression is one of them. Depression is one of them, especially during this COVID-19 period. There's a lot of domestic violence and killings in the home because of, first of all, parties are strained, there's no income. These things start when we have the number of kids we cannot adequately provide for.
Okay.
We strain, and then people do not marry, they marry for different reasons. So you become disappointed and then you react.
And then you react, yeah.
But then when it comes to laws, usually if it's murder, and then it's the criminal, you'll be charged with murder.
Let's talk about, we have a case here finally, because of the interest of time. We have a case of in one of our dailies. A man has sought court protection from his police officer who is a wife. From his police officer wife, because he says that she has been threatening him on social media and fears for his life, especially being violated or in terms of violence. What are the ways at which a couple can protect themselves if one partner fears for his life in regards to the other?
You can sue in the event of threats on social media, misuse of a communication device, or you can go the criminal way, or you can go the civil way, as I had indicated earlier. You can sue under the Protection Against Domestic Violence Act and get protection orders restraining them from coming close to you or generally threatening you. So in the event they do not comply, then you can cite them for contempt.
Thank you very much, Clarice Osoro, for your time.
Thank you. It's Osore.
Sorry.
Thank you. I was happy to be here.
Does that fall under which we have libel and the other one is?
No, it does not fall under either.
Does it fall under either?
Yeah.
Well, it's a pleasure having you this morning. These are discussions that we really needed to have.
Okay, asante sana.
All right, and that brings us to the end of this morning show right here on Good Morning Kenya. As always, it has been a pleasure. May God bless you, and may God bless the work of your hands. My name is Ram Aguko. See you tomorrow.
Hamjambo wa Kenya wenzangu, mimi ni prosecutor. Niko hapa kusisitiza maagizo ambayo tunapewa na Wizara ya Afya kuhusu ugonjwa wa coronavirus. Tunaambiwa pahali pana watu wengi lazima tuweke distance, yani kuweka hatua mita 1 kwa mwenzako. Ukienda kwa matatu, weka distance. Ukienda kwa soko ama palipopote mkusanyiko wa watu, ni vizuri uweze kupeana hiyo social distance ili tuweze kumaliza maambukizi. Tukifuata haya masharti ama maagizo ambayo tunapewa na Wizara ya Afya, hakika tutaangamiza corona virus na hali yetu ya kawaida tutairudia. Asanteni sana.
I'm not worried anymore. If any such challenge arises in the future, then you will honestly face them.
Arya, suspecting my mother is the same as committing a sin. Her life has been of devotion and sacrifice towards Mother and the Maurya dynasty. She got hurt during this attack. She did, and has been unconscious since then.
On the next episode,
What was Ricardo thinking when he made Juana the beneficiary? How could he choose the maid instead of his own mother?
No! Please,
please leave me alone! Please leave me alone!
Just so we're clear, that money doesn't belong to her, you understand? Make me some tea.
It'd be better if we leave without him.
Definitely not! I'm not going anywhere without my son, is that understood?
Hey, relax.
What we have to do is convince her to deposit it in an account under our names.
Did you really say $1 million?
You didn't leave me anything.
In Love with Ramon.
One of them is by the Leader of Majority, the Mediation Bill, National Assembly Bill number 17 of 2020. The principal object of the bill aims at giving effect to the recommendations of the parliamentary report dated 17th June 2019 on the inquiry into the Kenya Airports privately initiated investment proposal to Kenya Airports Authority prepared by the Departmental Committee on Transport, Public Works and Housing, proposing that among other recommendations, the nationalization of Kenya Airways. The bill proposes for the establishment of Kenya Aviation Corporation as a holding corporation and its operating entities, including the operating equity subsidiaries. Another bill set to be tabled before the floor of the House this morning is the National Assembly Bill, National Aviation Management Bill, National Assembly Bill number 18 of 2020. The principal object of the bill is, among others, to provide for the settlement of all civil disputes by mediation, set out the principles application to the mediation, as well as provide the establishment of the mediation committee and provide for the accreditation or registration of mediators and recognition as well as enforcement of settlement agreements, among other factors. Other bills set to be tabled before the floor of the House this morning is the Supplementary Appropriations Bill. The Supplementary Appropriations Bill number 2 of 2020. The Committee of the Whole House will be considering the Supplementary Appropriations Bill. The bill will be tabled by the Vice Chairperson of the Budget and Appropriations Committee. Two motions are set to be moved on the floor of the House this morning. The Vice Chairpersons of the Mediation Committee will be moving a motion on the approval of mediated version of the County Government's Amendment Bill number 11 of 2017, that this House adopts the report of the Mediation Committee on County Government, Senate Bill number 11 of 2017, laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, April 22nd, 2020, and pursuant to the provisions of Article 113, subsection 2 of the Constitution, and Standing Orders number 150, approves the mediated version of County Government's Senate Bill number 11 of 2017.